for what he has. He says that the only way that we can solve our problem is to unite together among ourselves, among our own kind, clean ourselves up, rid ourselves of the evils that we've become addicted to here in this society, and try and...
Off my dome, this is actually taught by the people who are ancestors of the Mayans in
Yes, he destroy black boys. If you destroy him as a boy, he'll never become a man.
It's cool enough just being cool, like I am, chilling. You don't understand. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Joe feet. He looked down, seen his feet. The nigga went berserk, killed the monkey, threw the bat out the window, start kicking that bitch in the air.
I've seen a lot of black guys, Nipsey, but you're overdoing it. Group of you together, you never can tell who's who.
To the east, to the north, to the west, to the south, above, below, and the middle. To the east, to the north, to the west, to the south, above, below, and the center. Greetings. This is Big Pontiac, and welcome to the Chocolate Mountain Show. I am the holder of the infinite sacred ball game that was created by the Hero Twins, and I am that one and only galactic daddy-o welcoming each and every one of you to my galactic patio that reaches from Minnesota to the universe. Well, that must be my motherfucking cue to turn in, turn out, come in, and say, ain't we funky now? Chapstick. I know I'm out of it. It's good enough, though. Good enough. And tonight's special brewery, special beer is Steel Toe Brewery in St. Louis Park, Minneapolis. It is a dark ale, dissident dark ale. So pop them if you got them. And of course, you've noticed the size of this beer. It is 7.0 alcohol, so ooh. And look at this when it pours. Ooh, dark and rich ambrosia. And as you look at this very chocolatey ambrosia, you wish you could be me right now. You wish you could be me right now, having the exclusive Applebee's Lions Cup, wearing the Minnesota Axe, sitting here. So pop them if you got them. And again, we are smoking on the Unicorn Luca. So smoke them if you want them. Let's see how this is. I can work with that. I can definitely work with that. Just a little bitty hint. Wow. A lot of chocolate notes. Doesn't really say much about it. But a lot of chocolate notes in this. They call it an ale and not a stout. And I would agree, it's more of a stout, is a little more bitter. But I guess we have to talk about the game tonight. And I'm going to tell you the most telling thing. Remember in the first half what they said about Jimmy Butler. And what they said about Jimmy Butler was Jimmy Butler had 7 or 8 shots blocked. Now, I've made videos in the past where dudes don't, get their shot blocked on purpose. Now, the first 3 games, Jimmy Butler wasn't getting his shot blocked. All of a sudden, he's getting his shot blocked. Bam got a dunk blocked. All of a sudden, So that seems very sketchy. 0.3 seconds, and everybody, they don't play zone, so everybody can be in box out position. They're chasing everybody around, and nobody box out on a rush shot. I mean, that couldn't have been more set up if anybody wanted to do it. It was just, but Jimmy Butler, again, Jimmy Butler had, if you count the last 2 times, he shot and they gave him fouls. They gave him fouls, but he had 10 shots blocked. That's what he said. All together, it was one point in the game where he had 8 shots blocked, and they spoke about it, and all together he had about 10 shots blocked. So that's telling. Like, why? You telling me he doesn't? In one play he was on the baseline again in the second half. You could see when he went on the baseline, he didn't really try not to get it blocked. He shot it to get it blocked, and I've showed that over and over again where dudes be shooting the ball and to get it blocked. So, who's party people? What's the party people here? Who's here with me tonight? Oh, Dr. Sinister, what's happening? And you know you always got to have
vision.
and my man with the plan down in the SIP, Lorenzo. And I know you have
Got to have vision.
my main man, P.J. Allen. And I know you always have control of
My bitches. You saying you can't control your bitches? What?
I know you controlling yours. Tonight's game is just a bait for gamblers. Put their money on Boston. Right now, the Celtics are 8-point favorite. That does not surprise me. 8-point favorite at home. I'm going to say it wasn't a good script because, remember, he'd have been playing a lot of zone. And you're telling me in that situation where there's nothing time really for just a clean catch and shoot, you don't play zone to box out. And that's not what we saw. We did not see a zone to help them box out better. You would have thought they would have put all the big dudes they had in there for the inside, but they didn't do that. Amada, Last Ape, what's happening? It just seems so fake now, WWE on the hardwood. I would agree. And because you made that comment, you must have.
Got to have vision.
So you must have it. And that's what it is. So many horrible calls. Well, a lot of that too. It was a carrying call that was very, very suspect. That came out the blue. They called it on Tatum. Which I thought was like, wow, that's a really random time because he's at the top of the key and they called travel. And I'm like, wow, that's super random that in this situation you would call it. But like the whole theatrics to give Jimmy Butler, he went in the corner, they give him the 3 shots. I mean, you could see it was all, to build it up to the climactic ending. Because, again, they didn't box out because they needed Boston to win. So they let one person crash. The ball came out on the right side. Again, with the magnetics, you can make it come out on one side. And then it ain't 4 Heat boxing out. You had number 31 that was chasing behind him. It was his man to box out. And earlier, number 55 that really could have iced the game and missed 2 open threes, he was the same way. He didn't box out Brown a couple times down the court. So we saw a bad script, and we must say it's bad coaching, but it's scripted coaching always. But to me, that didn't make sense not to fall back in the zone. Oh, let me say this. This is the punk ass motherfucker. So we had some people come in here and clean my ducts. I paid some people to come in here to clean my air ducts. The dude one of the guys stole this shirt. I had to buy another one last night. That's some bullshit. Dudes come do some work of all the things. And I'm very particular about my clothes. So I know, the shirt just come up missing, and it's obvious. You was the last one here. And is that really, is it really worth losing your job over a $20 t-shirt? I don't think so. But it just seemed like Jimmy Butler, has toned his whole game down. Like, no, not aggressive. They let him, again, to make the act look good. They let Jimmy Butler get a couple at the end to make the act look good. But then to come out, and I wonder what the over and under was. Hey, Siova, what is happening? And, Siova talks about world affairs. Let's hear that.
The Chinese platform, you already know they don't give a fuck about your black ass. And then
what is that? They don't give a fuck about who?
The Chinese platform, you already know they don't give a fuck about your black ass.
See? Siova knows. They do not give a fuck about you. Thank you for joining, though. Do you think they botched the Lakers script? No, not really. I'll say this: what's show highly entertaining. Hall of Famers trying to explain why no one was boxing out and no Celtics were in the paint. Absolutely. Do they think the bake? But I don't know if they botched the Lakers script. They're building up the Lakers, and I think they want to build them up once if the Clippers. I think next season the Clippers are leaving, so I think that's kind of the build up when the Lakers have the Staples Center or whatever they play in to themselves. Maybe that's the build up. But no, I think that was the way. Again, it kind of unvilified Anthony Davis a little bit. So that's a violation to steal the light. I don't know, but I was just listening to you. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that is so good. That is so good. And the other stuff you said, creating the content. The other stuff you said. I'm just having fun with it. B Brown, what's happening? Okay. And I know B Brown has
got to have vision.
They added 9 seconds to the clock. Then not number 9, White got the tip. I missed that. The Heat coach all of a sudden don't know how to coach. Exactly, but why didn't they play zone? That's just the simplest thing. Why didn't they play zone? That's what I didn't get. Why didn't you play zone on that kind of thing? And they didn't do that. And you play zone just for that point, so you get the rebound. There really wasn't time other than what you saw to grab the rebound, to tip it in. So it looked like, new arena, new championship, it could be. They added 9 seconds on that clock. It was 2.1 to 3.0. Number 9 gets the game-winning tip, and the final score was 104-103. 207, 2 plus 7 equals 9. Come on, man. My Boosie boys. And he can only say that because
got to have vision.
There's your mantra vision. There you go. You got a OTF. You got a what? Were they doing work for you in your pad? Yes, OTF. Thank you for joining. If I didn't give you one already. It was bogus.
Got to have vision.
Dudes could have asked. They could have asked. ECF is a joke. It's entertaining. Yeah, it is. It is. That's it. That's what it is. You're leaving there entertaining. You didn't feel the refs cheated too bad. It was just bad basketball. I mean, all the way around, it was bad basketball. And, Jimmy Butler's performance is ridiculous. Like, remember how many times Tatum 3 times went through the middle, nobody guarding him, and the ball goes out of bounds. Did y'all notice that? In the first half, it was twice in the first half and once in the second half. He beats everybody, and there's nobody in front of him, and yet the ball goes out of bounds. So, the excuse is so sports don't use zone all the time to keep the defensive honest. Oh, I know. He is not a good team, but it's entertaining for them to put it over the Celtics. Not looking good for the Nuggets, I'm being honest. I don't think so either. I think the Eastern Conference, it's going to come out to Eastern. No, I did not hear about the ref they fired. Let's look that one up. Ref got fired? What sport? Right here I got referee Tim Peel. NFL announced that referee, I can share it. Let's see, it's hockey. Whoa. Let's see. Is that who it is? Yeah, right here it says the NFL announced that referee Tim Peel will no longer officiate games, was caught on a hot mic saying he wanted to give a pen. Oh, okay, this is old. This can't be it. That can't be it. NFL referee fired. Let's see. Here we go. I think this is it. No, this is 22. So this can't be it. This is 22. So this can't be it. Let's see. What does he say? Did you hear about the ref they fired? The Texans. So no. Tatum would have had it. They wanted Memorial Day off. Yeah, it was the Celtics ref they fired today because they discovered he had a burner Twitter account. Celtics ref. Celtics don't have refs. A dude who did the Celtics game. Wow, let me look that up. NBA ref. NBA ref fired. Oh, right here. This is it. Thank you. Okay, let's check this out. This is it. I did not know about this. NBA investigates suspicious Twitter account theorized to be referee's burner account. 5 years ago, a burner account scandal brought down general manager Brian Colangelo. Now the NBA investigating allegations of similar nature. The league opened an investigation to a suspicious account that has been speculated to belong to veteran ref Eric Lewis. According to Friday evening report from the NBA, Mark Stein. On Thursday morning, Twitter account Pablo Escobar cited another user, published 2 screen recordings of totaling over 3 minutes in length depicting the replies of Twitter account under the name of Blair Cutliff. Cutliff's replies were almost entirely made to tweets mentioning Lewis, a 19-year veteran, beginning his officiating career in 2005. Many of the replies are a response to tweets questioning complete integrity of the game. NBA ref has been outed as having a burner account. This is a momentous day. The account will surely be deleted, soon to be active entirely. The account replies all involving Eric Lewis. And I guess it says, so far I would rank every NBA official when I hit 100. I've hit 100. Here's the list. Huh. Whoa. Back. The other way. Where's there? Yeah, he worked. Wow. Oh. Not getting this for some reason. I can't hear it. It's not coming over through this. Wow. Damn, I am not conspiracy theorist, but it's stuff like this that convinces fans that the ref is fixed. Damn. This is Shaq takes shots at every big man, potentially threatening his place in the Lakers' lowest goofy behavior. Furthermore, as Twitter points out, one of the 5 accounts by Cutloff was George Mason's women's basketball team. Lewis's wife, Lewis, is the Patriots' head coach. Again, the account was created in 2015. Has been on a war mission toward the end of the season through the postseason. It has 0 followers and hilarious only that 5 accounts. The wife's the head coach. Wow. We log in a ref call, 11th season, occasionally release tidbits here about NBA's referee tendencies. Courage and communication, dialogue, transparency with the fans. We know better than that. Thank you for that, Ziova. Yeah. Good. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. Let's see, it was him and somebody else. What year is this? Huh. Yeah, so thank you. Definitely thank you for that. Let's see. It's Eric Lewis. Yep. I see the West getting their 37th. I think so. Celtics had a 22-6 record with him reffing. Yikes. They like him. Zach comment. Last AB, I saw that like Zach comment. I missed it about Zach. What did Zach say? I ain't beefing with Zach. Here, but White didn't get a tip. Would have been Tatum, so no. Boston Tea Party Memorial Day. Wow. So Eric Lewis. Red Sox. PJ says the Red Sox came back from 0-3 into winning the World Series. Maybe the Celtics do the same. That is a good point. Good point. Ironic that you mentioned that A-Rod and Derek Jeter were at the game. Yep. They ain't investigating nothing. Sure ain't shit show with no news from ESPN. Exactly. They're trying to cover it up. That's what they do every time. Oh, the Twins. That's what I was going to say. The Twins won today. The Twins beat the Blue Jays. The game's been damn near sold out. They beat the Blue Jays 9-7, and the Blue Jays will be here tomorrow. We thought about going. We tried to go to the St. Paul Saints, and the minor league game was sold out. It was like more tickets for the Twins than it was the minor league game. So it's a lot to do here, and it's, beautiful day. Got to play a little pickleball, not as much. Teaching kind of today. The ref leaked that script. Probably so. I mean, that's just... They're trying to do everything they can to distract people because people are starting to catch on. I mean, again, no matter how athletic it looks, we know that it's all scripted. Just like tonight was a perfect example. He was told to fire it up. Everybody was told not to box out. Let White get in there. Don't play zone where you fronting him, So we saw it. We saw what it was. Why do the Twins have CT? This is TC. Twin City, baby. CT. What are your eyes looking at? It's TC, not CT. It's Twin Cities, baby. That's what it is. Twin Cities. Somebody had to have leaked the script. I've never seen anything like that before. And that wasn't I would agree. But again, they're trying to get as much distance, trying to make it seem real. Trying to say little things like these as little bit mistakes, and then we'll like what they fired the players, they fired the players for gambling. Where NFL is the only sport that allows sports betting. They're the only sport that allows betting on other sports, the NFL. You just can't bet while you're on the team's facilities. But as long as you are not on any of the team's facilities, you can bet your ass off. And just like we had the baseball scandal, trying to believe that, electronics and boom, they've been wanting to put, on the wrist. Right now, you can have it on the wrist, and the catcher has it on the wrist, and you can see what to throw. If you don't want it, he'll give you another one. That's all it is. They just want that technology pushed through. So it's just, we'll see. They let White inball the ball and run free straight to the basket. Absolutely. And you know how old that play is? And you know what? One of the announcers said, watch White. One of the announcers said that. Sure did. Tatum scored exactly 2,191 points through 92 playoff games, and Bird had 2190 points on his 92nd playoff game. Around Bird's 92nd game was in 86 where he won the chip. You think Tatum does the same? I say yes. That sounds very convincing to me. I would say yes. Because again, when I look at Denver, it makes me think of the year that Washington made it. I said that back. I think it's 77 is when Seattle Supersonics with Gus Williams and downtown Freddie Brown won the championship, and Dennis Johnson. And then the next year, they beat the Washington Bullets with Alvin Hayes and Wes Unseld. And then the next year, Phil Chenier. And the next year, Washington was able to win it. So I think that is what we're looking at. I would be very surprised. Remember, Boston lost last year. So I'd be very surprised if Boston goes that they would lose back-to-back years too. It's very unlikely that they would let them lose back-to-back. But again, I think Denver going, we've had Indianapolis going and losing because Indianapolis did go. Kobe and them beat them in the championship. So that, so we've only had 3 ABA teams out of the 4. Only 3 have made it to the playoffs. No. The Nets. Didn't the Nets lose? Yeah, the Nets lost a championship too. So all 4 teams, right? The Nets lost. Yeah, the Nets made it in 02, 03. One of Kobe and Shaq's championships I thought was beating the Nets, right? So all 4 teams I think have made it, but only one has won. So is this the breakthrough for him? Mason Howard, what's happening?
Got to have vision.
So that could be. That very well could be. That very well could be setting them up to win next year because, Joker it does play great, but understand this. Like even Kwame Brown, like if you really listen to a lot of what he says, they ran him down mentally and physically. Like sometime even making him work out an hour before the game so he really didn't have energy to go back into the game. So, they tried to make him mentally break him down because he had a lot of the physical gifts. And I only say that because despite all that, you still, if you play against pro players, you become better. And it's obviously throughout his career, he did become better. It's just no way you don't. You become better. You play against these guys all the time. Eventually, you become better. You practice against these guys. And so that's what happened with Joker. That's what happened with Nowinski. You think it's any coincidence that Nowinski gets to play against the Dream Team not once, but twice? Do you think that's a coincidence? If it would have been show business, you could say the NBA was grooming Nowinski by using him in the Olympics. If he was in record business or movie business, it's almost like the NBA was grooming him by looking at those games. Charles Barkley bragging he tried to get him in Auburn, right? So my point is, you get better. You play against these guys, you get better. And that's anybody. You should get better. And you watch most dudes, they do get better at some point in their career. Maybe they can't sustain it. But at most points, they do get better. So, Joke looks like shit when he's playing and he's getting up there in age. Joke all of a sudden can't put up his numbers. It's going to be suspicious, very suspicious. All 4 NBA teams made it to the finals. Matter of fact, the 03 finals had both ABA teams, Spurs and Nets. Yeah, I knew the Nets had made it. It was low-rated finals, but they both was ABA teams. Thank you, Lorenzo. That is outstanding. Thank you. I knew the Nets was in there. So, yeah. So yeah. And again, not a lot of interest. The Nets, big market team, but did not have any big names. Again, the Spurs was in that trying to push the foreign players of Ginobili and Tony Parker. So, and as Lorenzo said, nobody was really wanting to watch it. Even when they beat, trying to think who else, when they beat Detroit, which was like, it seemed like impossible. And yet they beat that Detroit team that beat Shaq and them. Didn't seem like they should have. So Nets went back to back. Okay. And the Nets did win an ABA championship as well as Indianapolis. They won an ABA championship. Utah Stars, who don't exist, won the NBA championship too. So the Nets went back to back. That's what I thought. No, Tim Duncan is from the islands. The islands is in America. The islands is in America. If you from up north, or you even in the Mid-Blues, that's all America. So no, you can't throw him. If you from, that's why I don't. I have nothing to say about baseball players. You from South America, that's where the game was started. So yeah, Nets won the last ABA title. Yes, and the Nets beat Denver. The last ABA loser was Denver, with Bobby Jones, David Thompson, and Dan Issel. And that might have a little bit to play with it. Wow. Yeah, the Nets beat the Nets. Yeah, the Nets. Yeah, the Nets beat Denver. Yeah. Wow. And that had to be 76, 77 season, because that was the last season, I think. Yep. Dr. J and what they call him, Superman John Williams. Maybe he rest in peace. He had a hell of a series. Larry Kenyon, Dr. K. That's had a good team. But Dr. J, there was only I think 6 teams. Dr. J kept a 6-team league alive for 3 seasons at least, which was outstanding. That one player generated that much interest to keep another league alive, to make the NBA have to absorb them. So they need to put Jokic over with a chip. I mean, they gave Dirk one on a team that wasn't very good. And they never gave Nash one, though. Nash, they didn't give it to him. They gave him the MVP, but they didn't give him the ultimate. Remember, Nash tried to end his career. With Lakers and never played. Like, the Lakers paid him for not playing. Remember that? The Lakers paid him for not playing, which is just crazy, beyond crazy. They gave him something like $14 million a year for a couple years, and he was hurt. How can they afford that? That's what I don't understand. It's how can you afford to pay this dude this ultimate? No disrespect to Kobe, but come on. Kobe, again, we saw Kobe get to 42 million, but it was not any sane business person would have paid him at his age 42 million for one season. I mean, that is just, no one can afford that, to pay this old, at the time, has been. Kobe had got hurt. Remember, Kobe tore his shoulder. Kobe tore his Achilles. And yet Kobe garnered $42 million. Now who would really pay that? No, what I've always said is one reason why they hang on to old players. They hang on to old players because they can do the script. I've said that many years. They need to play 12 games, only 12 games, back injuries. Yeah. Back injuries, yeah. It's Americans, Taniq Nasheed here calling them people that's not them from the States tethers when they are from Western Hemisphere. Those are Americans. Yeah, I mean, it's all Americans. It's no, if you want to look at some of the history, what they did is they killed so many people off the island. They start, they always, the most coward thing that the European did is the European was always coastal snatching. They were always going to the coast of North America. You know how they tell you they was coastal snatching Africa? Well, the truer story was they was coastal snatching in Americas. They take a raiding party inland and try to find women and children. Try to be able to steal 3 or 4 women and children. Catch these coastal communities, isolate some women and children, and that's who they tried to snatch. And so, it got so bad in North Carolina because, again, they worked these people to death. If you look at, wasn't just so much disease, but it was a lot of instances of working the people to death. And we're talking, and, not even including the meat harvesting that they did with the people in the islands. Not even talking about that. So, you know, North Carolina, a lot of tribes out of North Carolina were shipped to the islands, to Jamaica especially. So, I mean, this is, you know, this is part of the slave trade they don't talk about a lot. That they were taking people off the mainland and taking them to, you know, one of my ancestors, James Ampey, after inheriting a very large amount of land around Boston, all of a sudden he's getting, you know, his father dies and both his brothers die. He inherits thousands of acres, and all of a sudden he gets kidnapped and taken to Tobago. And it takes him, you know, roughly 8 years to come back, and out of thousands of acres, he's only able to get a claim because they had cheated his mother. He's able to make a claim of about 20 acres. So, Kobe's destroyed the Lakers for years. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know it was finna blow the way he kept talking shit. Whenever motherfuckers talk too much shit, it never works out. That's a good point. Only difference is imagery. Borderlines, and we're from the north and they're from the south, but it's still the Americas. Absolutely. It's still all the same. Once Butler doesn't get all those generous calls and Magnus shots, dude turns into a regular guy. Well, he wasn't aggressive either. Wasn't aggressive. You didn't see, you know, that Jordanish Jimmy Butler to take over Jimmy Butler. Don't die, Jimmy Butler. We didn't see that Jimmy Butler the last 3 games. We saw Jimmy Butler that shoot to get his shot blocked. So that's the Jimmy Butler we see. Yep. That's the Jimmy Butler we saw for the last couple games. So just some bogus basketball. Oh, but let me tell you guys, we went to the movies last night, and that shit was a freaking surprise. You know, I'm always standing on the verge of getting it on. So, you know, I'm nice up in there, and no, yes, there we go. That's it. I don't want to get hit, but well, who cares? This shit is funny as hell. Man, I don't know if it's anything I can show, but man, this shit here was funny. I did not anticipate, but I watched the trailer and I know I'll get hit. It says with the recent stand up. I never heard of this dude. I never heard of this dude in my life. I watched the trailer and the trailer was funny. The movie is funny. It reminds me of what's his name? Oh man, he has Alzheimer's now. What is his name? Bruce Willis. It reminds me of the Bruce Willis movie. Remember when Bruce Willis and his son go to Russia? Part of that, this movie kind of gives you some of that. But this guy is just, so the guy is kind of having like a midlife crisis. The guy gets drunk. He live streams himself being drunk, and then he tries to get his 14-year-old daughter to drive him home. And the daughter, of course, gets caught, and all this is on live stream, and then the daughter can't get her license till she's 18. So, you know, this guy's a very popular, rich kind of guy, but he's called the Machine because I guess apparently when he went to Russia, he was able to drink so much that he became a legend. So he drank so much, so they became a legend. But as you know, you have to have protection in Russia, so he got tied up with Russian gangsters, and they end up robbing the dude. And so the rest of the movie is kind of like him. And Mark Hamill plays his daddy. Mark Hamill is funnier than a motherfucker. Yeah, here's Mark Hamill. He is funnier than a motherfucker too. I mean, they both, their timing, everything. I mean, their timing is so good. But Mark Hamill, oh my goodness, he is just this was great. I love screenplays, and for comedians, this was really great screenplay. The way they acted off each other was very, very funny. It's a shoot 'em up. It is a shoot 'em up because they're dealing with the Russian mafia, so it's a shoot 'em up. But and I don't want to get hit, so I'm not gonna play. Well, I mean, whatever. I don't really care. But so it's one of the clips on telling him a story you want to hear for yourselves. Randomly picked a Russian language class while attending college. According to him, the professor was desperate to keep students, was just giving out positive grades. And they eventually went to Russia, in which the classes were taking place. All the locations were controlled by various Russian mobs. So protection was hired so the students wouldn't get kidnapped. And Chrysler unexpectedly forms a bond with the mobsters, saying a few words they knew: "I am the machine." And the legend was born where he outdrank everybody. I mean, this movie's out. I don't think it'll hurt to play a clip. But this is funny. I had a good time. It was funnier than I thought. Very well written. She plays a Russian. She's the main Russian, and it's funny. It's just funny. So I would recommend it. I liked it. Only difference, once Butler, we saw the regular season Jimmy Butler. We saw the regular season Jimmy Butler. That's a good one. Sal's last team from the West that's not from Cali or Texas to win the NBA finals, to be in the finals. But now OKC, but the active team was Portland 76-77. Interesting. Oh, interesting. Excuse me. Interesting. So yeah, that movie was just funny. Looks like it's based off a comedy stand-up he did. Yeah, it's definitely based off his comedy stand-up. And I just saw the trailer and I just okay, so we go to movies almost every week. I was gonna go see last week or whenever the Little Mermaid came out. I think it came out last week. I was going to go see it, but my daughter's mother, so my daughter and I had planned to go see it last Friday. My daughter's mother calls me and says, well, I don't think she wants to go with you because my father took me to see the Little Mermaid, and I think her and I want to make it a thing. So I was cool with it. It really didn't matter to me, but we was there and it was packed. All the children, blankets, every, Little Mermaid buckets of popcorn and shit. But I like this. I'm glad we saw The Machine. It was a good movie that you might not heard of. It's funny. You want to see a good, funny movie, it's funny. Season Denver's first season also. This is the 77th season. That is very true. There is, we can't go a day. You guys know it's a lot of stuff going on up here. It's never a day where we just get a rest. And it's just a great day. So we have to let you know what's going on in the Great White North. Damn. 15-year-old baby K wanted for trying to kill middle schooler on the bus. Damn. Where does all this come from? Let me see. Oh, Biden McCarthy reached 11-hour deal on raising the debt ceiling. This is what, there's a couple of this I wanted to, yeah. What is this, the same thing? This is a couple. I'll play the newest one. I guess they're bringing this around. But, yeah. It's going up here, and I do need this, but I don't know it right now. This is going up here on the Great White North, y'all. Not bad. The suit is okay. Got the red, white, and blue. I got it. Got the American flag. Not bad. It fits him nice. No problem with it. Let's go.
Sacrifice for our nation. There's a one-of-a-kind way to do that all weekend long in Mendota Heights. Adam Duxter took a trip to St. Thomas Academy High School, where thousands will pay their respects this weekend.
Just one look, enough to make you stop and remember.
It's kind of a hard one to think about and realize what all happened.
If you're one of the millions of Americans like Jim Zahn,
what all happened. think about. And
you know, let me say this. This is what, like, getting old. I mean, people, like I've said before. Let me get off this. My uncle, my dad's oldest brother, went to Vietnam in the Navy, fought. I remember my uncle coming to my house when he was on leave. Thunder hit off. He jumped on the ground. My first cousin fought at the end of Vietnam. My dad just turned 80. My uncle got to be 77, 78. My first cousin, again, he went at the end. He went at the end like 70. When they were pulling out, the Navy was still near off. So they would do fighting spontaneously. He was there at the end, but he's 65, 66, maybe even 70, 71. Maybe he got me by 10 years. I'm not sure. But my point is, like, in my lifetime, it doesn't seem like that long ago that World War II vets was in their 60s and 50s. You know, when I was a boy, World War II vets was in their 60s and 50s. The Vietnam people was coming and going, you know, the cats that made it back. And now here I am, you know, the Vietnam cats are dying, you know, in their 70s and 80s.
Realize what all happened.
If you're one of the millions of Americans like Jim Zahn who served in Vietnam,
It is emotional, very much.
those memories are layered.
It just made me think about my tour, my time in Vietnam, what I did, what I remember. Makes you realize how lucky a lot of us were to go to Vietnam, come back.
This weekend at St. Thomas Academy.
You know, and this also what this makes me think of. All these young dudes, all these young melanated dudes that want to kill each other, why didn't we keep the draft and draft all these dudes? Like, we got all these killers in Chicago, all these killers in Kansas City. Like, why didn't we reinstate the draft and take all these psychopaths to Vietnam or whatever country, Iraq and Iran, and let them just keep, like, we should just have, like, they should be, why ain't all these killers that want to kill each other in America, why didn't we take all these killers and let them fight in Russia now? You're so quick to want to kill a person that lives on your street. Let's take these people, these psychopaths where real killers are. Let them fight over in Ukraine. This is where psychopaths need to be. They need to be in war. Because war turns you into a psychopath. And think about this. This is the thing that, you know, the way it was best to explain to me about Vietnam. See, Vietnam wasn't like World War II or the Civil War, World War I. The Civil War and World War II is the best examples. World War I's really not quite, because we weren't in it that long. But with the Civil War and with the World War II, once you went to war, you was in war until it finished. As I said before, my great uncle went in with Patton. He was with Patton, a backup trucker division, I think. And then he went to Africa. He went to Sicily, he went to Italy, Belgium, Germany. So why don't we take these young people that want to kill so bad? Why aren't they taken somewhere where they can kill to see if they're really, or instead of trying to hide behind, you know, these American laws, go to jail, you know, be a superstar in jail, and you come out and blow up. You know, you kill an entertainer, you get 4 years in prison because of your age. Why aren't they? Why don't we have a war? Why can't we send these psychopaths to war? I mean, they don't have any jobs. Reinstate the draft. Take these psychopaths and let them fight and see if they are really tough when real war, and not just hide behind a car and sneak up on somebody the old cowboy way. You know, the thing they make you think with Wild Bill Hickok, they make you think that the Wild West was standing in front of somebody and shooting them. No, it was shooting people in the back. That's how Wild Bill got killed. Yes, it was a few times he faced the mug and shot him, but most of the time it was like sneak behind somebody, shoot him in the back. But see, that ain't glamorous, is it? They show you the Cowboys was like more like that. It ain't glamorous, is it? It looks better to, hang them high, 12 noon, stand back 50 paces from a mug like old Duel. All right, I'm sorry. I know y'all want to hear about the Civil War or the Vietnam Memorial. Let's go.
The wall that heals, a replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, is on display 24 hours a day.
These honored dead gave the most precious gift they had, life itself.
3 of the 58,000 plus names on the wall trace back to the academy itself.
And today again, I get emotional when I look at my father's name, and I traced it way back in 1985.
The families of the fallen honored in a ceremony Friday morning. Those who travel with the wall say a stop here is a must. To truly stop and remember why there's a Memorial Day to begin with.
It's so important that we never forget the legacy of these men and women on this wall, but the legacy that also has been brought home by those veterans that came.
And let me say this, the Vietnam vets were shamed, and even to this day, they were shamed like no one else. Remember how, the social controlling, the way you was looking at the John Wayne movies. You was looking at the World War II movies with John Wayne, being the hero. Then you go into real war and see it ain't about being a hero. Now, I know a few names on here of people. Matter of fact, I used to wear a bracelet for a POW. They used to sell bracelets, and I had this pilot. I talked to his family. I used to wear his name for years. I think I was in 5th and 6th grade. And I'm not sure. I imagine his name is on this wall, unless he stayed a POW. These people were vilified when they came back. And John Kerry was one of the main reasons that they were vilified. Remember in the movie Hamburger Hill, the one brother said he just felt so proud, he just wanted to show his jump boots. And the guy said, don't wear your uniform home. Because again, the government, instead of the government being vilified, the government vilified the soldiers. Because really, this was a war where the soldiers quit being stupid. By the end of the war, the soldiers refused to go out. It's like, what are we going out for? We're not capturing any land. And do you know what fragging a person is? You ever heard of that, fragging? Vietnam is where a lot of fragging. You had these people come from West Point and try to lead people into murder, get them set up. And so they would just blow him up. They'd bring somebody new in. People would go out, so far and just shoot the guns and run back in base camp. The soldiers literally said, fuck you, we're not sacrificing ourselves. As I showed one of my videos about World War I. It's just sacrifices. You look at World War I, you've got relatives. You've got all Queen Elizabeth's grandchildren mad at each other. They're playing toy army with real lives, where the people behind the money is all the same thing. Look at the massiveness of the bombing in World War I. All the shells, that all had to come from somewhere. People had to pay for that. The shelling in World War I. And then you look at it and it's the same money. They paid for all of it. I've said this before. Great movie to watch about World War I is Sarajevo. It's whatever language that is, but that's a great movie to watch. And you see how long they've been doing this fake assassination stuff to create a war, create a mindset. I was thinking about social engineering, but that's what a lot of dudes went to Vietnam was social engineered. Like you watch the movie We Are Soldiers. What is the first thing they do? They go try to chase somebody. You see a Viet Cong and you go chase them. And they land them right into a trap, ambush, because they so gung-ho. Well, we don't think, we just chase. We're Europeans and we just chase them. We got guns and we're out here in the woods and we're just chasing. He ran, so we just chase him. We don't think about it. And then they get run right into an ambush. So they vilified the soldiers because the soldiers quit being sacrificed. And it was a thing where the brothers was on the front line. Not saying a lot of Europeans wasn't on the front line, but, you know, to be the percentage we was, most of the what's called grunts was on the front line. Bloods is a great book to read. Dead Presidents, one character in the book Bloods, the movie comes from the movie Dead Presidents. So, okay, let's go.
Aim home.
Adam Duxter, WCCO News.
It's on display at St. Thomas Academy until Monday afternoon at 2. The Wall That Heals organization will be on.
Okay, so it travels around. DC, you know, if any of you guys been up to DC, you can see the nursing. They got the nurses thing for Vietnam, China Sea, whatever it was called. And then we have, of course, the wall, but there's another statue of three brothers that's very beautiful. I had a very, very beautiful picture of that one time in DC. Let me see. Oh, check this out. Couple things. Check this shit out. This is funny shit. Like, you got to be some unlucky people, and sometimes these weirdos are just like, how? Like, man, it be just like unlucky people. And this is a perfect. This is just like somebody that's unlucky. Tell us, Amanda. Tell us about it.
The only thing I'm confused about is how big the sinkhole got, because I didn't know it would get that huge.
Huge is the right word to describe it. And get this, it suddenly opened up and swallowed that woman's car while she was still inside. It happened at an intersection in Brooklyn Park, right in the middle of a neighborhood. Our Alan Henry is live along Shingle Creek Drive with the interview that you only see on WCCO. First, though, Alan, what does that sinkhole look like tonight?
Okay, we give him points for having the T-shirt. Maybe he's watching in, but... And okay, at least they gave him a shirt. Damn, about time you get a dude a shirt. I mean, man, you had dude going to Target getting him shirts. About time you slap WCCO, quit, you know. But at least he's got the T-shirt. There you go. Okay, let's go. Let's tell it.
Well, Amelia, I got to say, it's a miracle nobody was hurt considering the size of this sinkhole that opened up right in the middle of this neighborhood. Just take a look at it behind me here. You can see construction crews hard at work inside of that sinkhole working to fill it now. But earlier today, it was a car filling that sinkhole, and the driver of it says she's definitely counting her blessings tonight.
And it was just within 15 minutes under the ground.
Josie Russell says she was driving to get groceries when just blocks from her home, she tried to dodge what she thought was a puddle.
It just kind of dropped into the puddle. So as it dropped into the puddle, I just saw water flooding in from the bottom, and I got really scared.
But before she could even do anything, she says the situation escalated.
Water started coming in, so I knew, like, from instant, I was like, I have to get out.
She's got a peanut-shaped head, but let's go.
I knew I was going to sink in because I felt it sink in.
Josie tried to open her front door, but couldn't. So she moved to the back as neighbors watched, and one helped.
I bet he didn't help nobody. Look at that. You know they ain't did shit.
I got up from the back seat. I opened the back door, and the guy threw his hand out. He's like, oh, come out. He pulled my hand out. I was slipping a little bit, but I got out. And as soon as I got out, I came on the grass.
So she don't look dirty at all. Does she look dirty? She does not look dirty at all. And what happened to her nose? I mean, damn. This is a young lady, but man, what did you do to your nose? What is all that? But okay, let's go.
And I just watched my car kind of swallow away.
Finally went all...
Damn, what has Pat got to do with it? Pat was a witness. Ain't this look like Lurch's wife? Maybe Lurch from the Addams Family. And this is a sewer rodder trying to get some of that water up out of her. That's a rodder right there. That's a sewer vacuum. Excuse me, that's a vacuum jet trying to get all that water. But damn, Pat, golly, you got a husband, Pat? Because you looking kind of rough.
All the way in. It almost reminded me of the Titanic when I...
What? Oh, what? The Titanic?
I watched it.
She laughing and shit. Now, you know me. You know me. I would have been watching that shit. I would have been laughing at that shit, too. I would have been laughing at that shit, too. That shit would have been funny than a motherfucker. He's like, you's an unlucky motherfucker. Oh, that's what we gonna call this segment. Unlucky motherfuckers. Okay, look at her car, all jacked up.
Josie says she's glad to be okay, even if her car has seen better days. She does have one question, though.
How the hell did that happen? I don't know how that happened, but it was small, but it just got bigger and bigger. And as soon as I saw the car sinking down, I saw like 3/4 of the car come in. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a huge problem.
And this sinkhole is going to continue to be a problem for residents out here. The city says a broken water main caused this, so getting that fixed and getting this intersection open again is going to take about a day or two. And in the meantime, water service to nearby homes is going to be shut off.
Okay, they gave him a Nike. At least they gave him a Nike shirt. See, he upped his game. No Nike. He got a Nike shirt. I couldn't make it, but okay, they gave him Nike, and they at least told him to put on a clean. You know, he could get his T-shirts from Target, but at least they gave him a Nike WCCO shirt. Man, they be tripping, man. Won't even let the man work. Won't even let him look clean. Yeah, so that's unlucky. She said she went up in the back seat. This is funny, but it's not funny, but it is funny, but it's not funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. Well, no, it's not really funny, but kind of funny, but could be funny. Oh. Damn. I don't think I reported on this. Oh, yes, I did. I did report on that. I don't know if this is, this is not funny.
I've had all those expensive beds and consistent.
You lying. You ain't had shit. Okay. This is a feel-good story, guys. This is what happens, you know, you can play sports and you can get messed up. So, here we go. Let's go, Amelia. Oh, sorry, Amelia.
Minnesota sports community. It's a feel-good Friday edition of this week's Home Team. Our Mike Max is here to bring it to us. Hi there, Maxie.
Yeah, Amelia, it is just that, a feel-good. He was in the headlines 7 years ago. A head injury in a hockey game left him paralyzed, but Matt Olson is thriving.
Okay, he went into his old what was his name? He used to coach at that Bear Bryant. He went to his Bear Bryant. He's like, let me get in there. Oh, Bear Bryant used to wear a jacket like that. Come on, dude. Like, damn, like this is what you come up with. Why would you even look at this and think this is a good summer jacket? This is some ugly shit here, man. I mean, like, damn. And what does he got? Some brown pants on? Like, really? And you got a toupee? Okay, let's go. I'm sorry. I just get.
Because of the hockey community, and this week with the aid of a Minnesota company and one Viking quarterback. Matt Olson grew into a very good hockey player at Totino Grace High School. But it was in a junior game playing for Chicago he sustained an injury that left him paralyzed. It captivated the hockey community.
He will face these challenges with the same work ethic and tenacity that made him a great hockey player.
7 years later, he lives at his now fitted home, and it is filled with hockey jerseys from people like his friend Anders Lee from the New York Islanders. He has built a model railroad town. It's part of his passion for his new life. So too is hunting, especially for deer. And he's done 2 years of college and hopes to graduate with an outdoor science degree from St. Cloud State University.
I've always had a passion for the outdoors and getting out, and so that's what I'm kind of doing with my degree, and this will allow me to, get out in the field and do field work if I have to.
And that's what takes us to this day. Action Manufacturing out of Marshall got a call from a hockey man asking them to consider building an ATV for Matt.
Well, Matt, besides hockey, his other passion was hunting and the outdoors, and obviously he was limited that he couldn't go do that with a standard wheelchair. And the folks in Marshall produced this track chair, and we just thought, how can we get Matt in one of these so he can get in the great outdoors?
Oh man, look at that thing.
On this day, he is presented with his personal ATV and a prototype that could change the future for other accident victims.
I love the color.
Yep, camouflage.
That turned out so good.
Really appreciative to the Olson family for actually
helping us through. It took long, but we wanted to do it right, so it was a little bit of a process, but here we are.
But to understand how this all came together, there is a football connection. Kirk Cousins saw the first model and met Matt. That's what he decided, to fund the entire cost of it out of his foundation.
That's truly special what Kirk Cousins' foundation did, and truly amazing, and thankful for them to bring that financial piece into making this happen.
Even Cousins could not have predicted what it would be like on this day, when Matt Olson was able to go where he had not gone before.
Like right here, I haven't been back here since my accident, 7 years.
It's your first time that you can just stroll back here because
yep.
you can't.
Yeah, I could never go back. I mean, I could, but it would never be like this smooth or...
Just a stroll through the backyard meant much more to Mom and Dad.
It's hard to put into words because it's going to open up so many possibilities for him.
Because Matt Olson has a new lease on life. Because Matt Olson has a new avenue to freedom. And because Matt Olson has a forward-thinking attitude on everything.
He's got a sign in there, it is what it is, but it'll become what you make of it. And that's what he's doing.
And he's doing it very well. Matt got his 2-year associate's degree from Anoka Ramsey Community College this spring and is enrolled at St. Cloud State, where he will pursue some form of environmental.
Now, don't you feel better that I showed you that story? You know you feel better. You feel better. That's feel good. You play hockey. You can break your neck. That's the point of it. The point is, there is no point. Let's see this right here. I will combat that later. All right. Bishop. Oh, yeah, we got to give it out. Bishop McBone. I know you are always in charge of
My bitches. You saying you can't control your bitches? What?
And I know you definitely got
to have vision.
And thank you for joining me. And we give out the Panther energy, the transformation, the talalak, shalalak, but the transformation, the Panther energy. We give that out. The Omen energy, it ain't just the big heads, it's this too, baby. See, they only want you to think it's just the big heads. There's nothing else but the heads. And no, it's a lot more. That is American energy that went all through the Americas. So we give that out. Thank you for joining me. I always say, if you want to lower the murder rates, send these killers somewhere they can kill it well. That's right. Instead of having them kill in Chicago, I agree. Clean like Van Diesel. Van Diesel is so funny. You got this New Zealander trying to play a Mexican brother. So it's just like, okay, make that make sense. Make that make sense. You know, that makes no sense, but that's what they do. That's what they do. Silly shit. I forgot to, I'm doing Acid Blondie too. So, my fiance is like, don't you smoke one this summer? Last time I tried to smoke a cigar, I think I had heat stroke. I did pick a very wrong and hot day to try to smoke it, but I'd rather just chew on them. And that way I crave tobacco less. The tip fell off itself. Is it dry? Shouldn't be dry, been in the damn fridge. There we go. Ooh, yes, that's sweet. That is sweet. So yeah, that's it was one more story I did want to bring up. And let me see if I can find it. I know I had it on my phone. Let me see if I can find it up here. All right. Let's find it. Keep that. Yes. Okay. No. Let's see. Yes. All right. Let me see if I can find this up here. Because there's possibilities that we really don't think. So I'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. All right. Oh. TANA. See if this will bring this up. Yes, it will. All right. All right, right here. These are teragrade. A teragrade has been quantum entangled with a superconducting qubit and lived to tell about it. It is the first time a multicellular organism been placed in this strange quantum state, raised a question what it means for living things to be entangled. So this isn't quite quantum, but this is one of the shapes we see that can take it all. It can take extreme heat. It can take extreme cold. It can shut itself down. It can take all the proper, it can like shut all its whole system down. And when the conditions is right for it to survive again, it'll turn right back on. And so it's called a micro animal that have been barrel shaped with 4 pairs of stubby legs. And so let's see. Teragrade is the first multicellular organism to be quantum entangled. Now, again, when you think of imagination and you think of something that they can't kill, under any circumstances they can't kill, it's this thing. They've taken these in what they call space. They've tried to take them in the ocean. There's nothing, radiation, nothing kills this thing. So if there's nothing that can kill this thing, and this thing is part of Earth, this thing is part of us. If you can dig it. If there's nothing that can kill this thing, it's nothing that can really kill our consciousness, ever. Because this proves it right here. This proves that this reality, there's something that there's no death. This thing doesn't know death. Its species does not really know death. Has been entangled. Oh, you want me to? I do not want to subscribe to you. All right, I don't want to subscribe to you. Let's go here. Oh, this is the one I read earlier. Did scientists really entangle tardigrades? But what was the weird experiment? In a pre-peer review recently released, a team of physicians claimed to have done something extraordinary, placed a tardigrade in a state of quantum entanglement with a pair of cubics. According to the mind-bending weirdness of quantum science, quantum entanglement means that two things or systems can not be described separately. Do you dig? That's what entanglement means. Very simplistically, it means that anything that happens to the pterygoid also happens to the cubic, or vice versa. Now, another way we can look at entanglement is, once time crystal gets turned on, it's turned on. You dig it. It's just turned on. Nothing can turn it off. Previously, this has only been done with particle-sized objects. So if true, this would be the first time that an animal has ever been quantum entangled, because they're calling this an animal. They're calling this a type of animal. The paper triggered an avalanche of media reports, tweets, and online coverage. Tardigrade meets quantum world exciting headline, but there's one problem. Others physics are not convinced by the claims. The authors did not entangle a tardigrade with a comet in any meaningful sense, writes Rice University professor. That's not quantum biology. Others echo the view that the tardigrade did not achieve the true entanglement, with some saying instead that researchers only showed classical interaction between the tardigrades and the cubic. Now remember, the cubic is a made-up word by Einstein. The cubic is the electrical circuit, and putting the tardigrade next to it affects through the laws of electromagnetism, and we know about more than 150 years, explains science writer Ben Brubaker. Putting a speck of dust next to the cubic would have a similar effect. Get me? Me neither. The research is led by Shing Sumter Technology University, aimed entangled quantum system with a biological system. This is a difficult task, as they write in their paper, because like a complex hot and wet, whereas quantum objects are small, cold, and well controlled. To overcome this barrier, they chose to use tardigrades in their experiment, microscopic creatures that are incredibly robust, able to survive all kinds of hostile environments by entering a state of suspended animation. It's called something else. It is actually called something. There's a name for what it is. They're cheating us by not giving it to us. For them, places like unforgiving vacuum of space or the surface of the moon is a breeze. Why not super cold or quantum computer? So teams collected tardigrade species called Ramazotus varicatus off a rooftop in Denmark. Okay, they hang out from the rooftops. Okay, I feel them. They freeze 3 of them to 10 mil-Kelvin above chilling temperature of absolute zero. Almost lowered the pressure to 600,000 millionth millibars. The tardigrades looked dead, but they weren't. Their metabolism dropped to zero, and they entered a state of dehydrated. Here, this is the word: cryptobiolysis. Cryptobiolysis. This is the word. They have dehydrated state of cryptobiolysis, and they're able to survive for years. Then the team attempted to entangle the tardigrades with 2 superconducting transmon cubics, which are used to quantum computing. They went through 3 experimental sequences, each with a different tardigrade. Essentially, they placed the tardigrade on top of the captive parts of 1 or 2 already coupled transmon cubics. Since a frozen tardigrade is mostly water, the team claimed that it acted like a conductor of electric current, albeit a poor one, shifting the resonant frequency of the cubic was on down. The team said that is evidence of entanglement. We observed coupling between the animal psychobiolysis and a superconducting quantum bit, and prepare a highly entangled state between the combined system and the cubic. After the 420 hours experiment, one of the tardigrades was successfully unfrozen, though whether it returned to the rooftop home was kidnapped remains unclear. Okay. The other 2 were not quite so lucky. The closest real combining biological matter and quantum matter available with present-day technology, the team writes, one might expect similar results from inanimate objects with similar compositions to the tardigrades. We emphasize entanglement observed when the entire organism retains its biological function post-experiment. So, I don't know if that means anything to y'all, but like it's that's that's your possibilities. And it's also, like when you look at Shungite and it has fullerness, because this was once living. And when oxygen came, it turned it into stone. It turned this living organism into stone, but it still has something in it that can connect the inorganic to the organic that they call fullerness. And I'm just saying, you know, if you put that telegrade in your imagination, what you can do with it. It's just like, you know, realizing that you can be a neutrino, you know, a thing that can go away from black holes, that can be born out of the black hole. And so the more you know about these kind of things, you know the possibilities of what you can be. That's all. A person's aging it's called cryogenics, cryosleep. It's cryosleep. A person's aging very slowly. My fellow moderators, blessings in the Black Jaguar. Indeed, 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 indeed. So it's just, you know, something to put in your imagination that you are that part too. It comes from your world. Everything on this world is all part of us. That's real. That's not, I mean, even the artificial stuff, again, all comes from us. Everything, we're all part of this thing. That's why a car will work so well for you. Because again, everything from the car comes from the earth. That's why you beautify your home and you make your home, you know, you put all your stuff in it because it becomes part of you because everything comes from the same source. This is good. This is really good. So I just wanted to put that into people's imagination. Wanted to put that in your imagination and realize that you can be part of that. That can be part of you. That because again, what the point of it is trying to say, you know, they want electrical current that is artificial to join something that's biological that can't be destroyed. That's the point of it. I want that cubic to not be able to be destroyed. And remember, what they said is there's going to be a period where cubic and oxygen is going to fight, where the mind is going to need every inch of everything. These cubics is going to take the place of oxygen. Because again, it's space-time. And what do you think the machine is going to take? If the machine needs that little space of oxygen that gives us all air, the machine is going to choose to put the cubic instead of oxygen. And if the machine needs all the oxygen, the machine will get rid of oxygen to replace it with these cubics. And it's no way this can't happen. Because like it or not, the computers is going to need more and more space. And so are the cubics. They're going to need space too. They're going to need to occupy space. And if their space takes in the place of you occupying oxygen, who you think going to win? So that's something you can consider. Trying to remember frequency, not by air. It's electromagnetic. The original melodic people, the black hole, also the quantum realm. Well, it's, you know, the quantum realm goes into imagination and seeing if you can reach the quantum gardens. Ant-Man tried to show it a little bit, but not really, not really. There's a quantum state that is not astro. And I don't know, you know, there's not a lot of people that can really hit that kind of thing. They don't really try to see what the quantum gardens are. They don't really understand, you know, truly what the double slit experiment is trying to show you when you think about something quantum and the quantum interactions and how to even take yourself quantum. I think one of the best things that Wes Paneri wrote about is if it's a tax, the tax is going to come into quantum spaces. You can move large armies through the quantum spaces much easier than you can move massive people like they try to tell you Star Wars and all the clones. It's much easier to move smaller things. And I think, you know, Wes does a good job of explaining that. And so it's all about your imagination and what you can use out of all this information. Because there may come come a time where you need to use some of this stuff. Use some of your magic. Because again, this ain't technology. This is all magic. This is a higher magic than we truly understand, so we call it technology, but it's magic. It's magic. It's obvious that this is magic. There's nothing more magical than the television, or even the computers we see here. This is all, you look at it, you can see it's a type of magic. Done by the Mai. Done by the Mai. And the Mai has been, again, the patient techno god. The techno god is so patient that first it knows it has to give us the telegraph. Then it knows it has to give us the telephone. Has to give us the radio. Has to give us cassette tapes, 8-track tapes. What was the first phones? Hands-free phones, remember, in the house? Cordless phones. Had to first give you the cord phones. The government let them cheat us for years on long-distance calls when it was all the same. Didn't cost you any more to do a long-distance call. They just had to stick the wire in. But yet they want to tell you that it's thousands of dollars that they're spending to make you talk to somebody in another state. And now it's free. Isn't that some shit? Years ago, they wanted to make a long distance call so expensive. And now it's virtually free to talk to someone long distance. So it was a scam. Shows you they was cheating people and the government allowed it. Because the government, again, just getting taxes. Yeah, I remember some of them old phone bills if you called long distance. Phone bill in your ass. Nothing more American than tobacco. It's one of the most American of American things. That's why when the tobacco companies had to pay billions one time, they didn't care. It was 1 year's earnings because they knew the rest of the world is hooked on American tobacco. And it's interesting, and it's nothing to you people that smoke, but what's interesting is they've convinced everybody that smokes that you won't die today from smoking. You might die 10 years from now, but you won't die today. You'll smoke a cigarette and you won't die today. And that's how young people feel. You buy a pack of cigarettes, you buy a carton, and you don't die today. I'm amazed by people in their 50s that smoke. I'm truly amazed by people in their 60s and 70s that smoke. And that's how addictive it is. Nicotine is the most addictive drug out there. It's more addictive than anything. Even more addictive than alcohol. And again, you look at this and if you smoke a cigarette, and that's why this kind of stuff is a little better for you because it has less chemicals. It's more just tobacco. And you look at that pack and you realize the pack, you smoke that whole pack, you ain't gonna die today. You ain't gonna have cancer today. You smoke a cigarette right now, you ain't got cancer today. You ain't gonna have cancer tomorrow. You smoke the whole pack and you go buy another pack because it didn't give you cancer today, did it? And that's the young person's mentality. It don't bother me today, so I can do it because it don't bother me today. Right? That's how that's the mentality you got to think when you smoke, because you know that what it can do, the long-term effects is more than proven. But yet, because it won't kill you today, you think it's okay. Right? What is it, 20, 30 cigarettes in a pack? And you smoke it, it's your last cigarette and you smoke it and you're like, shit, I didn't die today. What they fucking talking about? I talked to a lady that had cancer. And she said if it wasn't for cancer, she'd have smoked until she died. She loved it that much. It was that much part of her life. Again, that's a true addiction. So no judgment. It's your thing. It ain't gonna kill you right now. If you're smoking a cigarette right now, it ain't killing you, is it? And that's young people mentality. If it don't hurt me today, it must be okay. Say y'all, it's been free. The quantum state is actually subatomic particle energy, dark matter, dark ether, zero power, a little bit. Magic is a manipulation of conscious energy intent. Indeed, indeed. And yes, it is free. I agree. I came across something. It is very, let's see. It's not coming up. Yeah. Yeah, it's not coming up. I know where it is, but don't really. Let me see. Go here. It's in here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. None of that. Well, it might be here. Let's see if it's here. It might be here. No, I don't want you. Yeah, thank you. Oh. No, it's not. Let's see, where is this? Oh, right here, okay. Might be in here. Let's see. Okay, I need to see all this. That's not it. Might be this here. See if I can find it. Yeah, I'm gonna let this go for a few seconds. This is worth it. This is a nice little history lesson. This is a nice history lesson. And okay. All right. This is a nice history lesson. And remember, I'm the first one and only one saying that we've had 3 Nazi presidents. Both Bushes, Obama, maybe even 4. We probably can include Clinton and Obama as Nazi presidents as well. But it all comes from this.
Former United States President George H.W. Bush died on November 30th, 2018. And while leading Democrats joined the GOP in celebrating the Republican leader as a hero, honoring him in a bipartisan ceremony, the real Bush left behind a murderous legacy full of war crimes across the planet. The corporate media lionized Bush, a former oil tycoon and director of the CIA, as a statesman who committed his life to his country. But Bush's patriotism was not rooted in devotion to the average working class American people. Instead, he was an elite custodian of capitalism and empire. From Iraq to Panama, George H.W. Bush was responsible for countless deaths. And far from being the moderate voice of reason he is now being presented as in the era of Trumpism, Bush paved the way for right-wing extremists to take control of the U.S. empire he so carefully preserved. If one had to succinctly summarize George H.W. Bush in a single moment, it would be in the eve of his presidency in 1988. On July 3rd of that year, the U.S. government shot down an Iranian civilian plane, killing all 290 passengers on board, including 66 children. The United States adamantly refused to apologize for this horrific atrocity. Bush was then vice president under Ronald Reagan and was in the middle of his own campaign for president. At a GOP event just a month later, in August, Bush indirectly responded to the U.S. massacre of Iranian civilians with the following infamous words.
I'll never apologize for the United States of America. Ever. I don't care what the facts are.
This lone quote says so much about the 41st U.S. president. It is a concise representation of the imperial hubris and chauvinism that Bush was the physical embodiment of. He refused to apologize for the crimes of the U.S. empire and did not give a damn about the facts. George H.W. Bush's family, life, and world were the textbook representation of the American ruling class, combining together the CIA, the oil industry, elite Ivy League universities, and even Nazi Germany. Bush was born in 1924 into an elite capitalist family. His grandfather, Samuel Bush, was a corporate steel and railroad executive who oversaw U.S. government contracts with weapons corporations during World War I. H.W.'s father, Prescott Bush, was an even more notorious figure. In 1918, as a member of Yale University's elite secret society Skull and Bones, Prescott and his peers dug up the grave of former Native American leader Geronimo and stole his skull. Prescott Bush then went on to become a bank executive on Wall Street. And during the Holocaust, the Bush family patriarch even profited from the genocidal Hitler regime. As the newspaper The Guardian reported in 2004, even after America had entered the war and when there was already significant information about the Nazis' plans and policies, he worked for and profited from companies closely involved with the very German businesses that financed Hitler's rise to power. It has also been suggested that the money he made from these dealings helped to establish the Bush family fortune and set up its political dynasty. Although the assets of Prescott Bush's company were seized by the U.S. government in 1942 under the Trading with the Enemy Act, this did not stop him.
And let me add, all the government did is they paid him and his father-in-law. This dude and his father-in-law, instead of going to prison for treason, the government gave him $3 million and gave the father-in-law $3 million. They gave him $6 million for their trading company. All right, let's go.
From pursuing a political career. A decade later, in 1952, Bush was elected to the U.S. Senate, representing Connecticut. George H.
And remember, Connecticut is the state with the most millionaires. So you see that? You go from being a trader. What is another trader that we know that made it big in politics? John McCain. You can't even find his trader stuff anymore. And this isn't a Mandela effect. John McCain at one time was wanted for being a traitor, for telling the flight plans to the Viet Cong. He could have came back sooner than he came back, but he stayed over there. And all of a sudden the SAM missiles were able to take down our planes. And then John McCain was turned into a war hero. You can't even find this. This is where what's so interesting is when the stuff that used to be out there when you first found John McCain when he first came back and tried to run for office. You saw all that treason stuff. Now you try to look that stuff up, and you can't even hardly find that stuff. But all right, here we go. Let's go.
H.W. Bush followed in the footsteps of his.
So you can be a Nazi. You can be a Nazi and you can still be in this government. That's what this proves.
Father. He went to Yale University and was also a member of the elite secret society Skull and Bones. After graduation, Bush moved to Texas and entered the oil industry. In 1953, he co-founded the Zapata Petroleum Corporation and quickly became a millionaire. In the early 1960s,
Zapata is a Mexican tribe. Zapotec. You see how they're even trying to steal the energy by using the name?
60s, before Bush officially entered politics, he also secretly started to work with the CIA. Journalist Joseph McBride noted, quote, Bush started working for the agency in 1960 or 1961, using his oil business as a cover for clandestine activities. After over a decade of building up his fortune in the oil industry, Bush then moved on to politics. He was elected to the House of Representatives in 1966, representing Texas. But that was just the beginning. Bush then became U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and subsequently chairman of the Republican National Committee. And then in 1976, Bush was appointed Director of Central Intelligence. After secretly working with the CIA for over a decade, Bush, a staunchly conservative Cold Warrior, was now the chief of it. Historian Greg Grandin wrote, quote, Bush helmed the CIA when it was working closely with Latin American death squads grouped under Operation Condor. This was the height of the Cold War.
And remember what I showed last night. What did that lady say in Greensboro in 79? She said it was just a continuation of the death squads that was allowed under the Reagan administration and Bush administration. She said it was the Klan was used as the death squad to kill the Union organizers in Greensboro. But let's go.
Cold War. And after the CIA had already violently overthrown numerous democratically elected governments throughout the global south, from Iran to Guatemala to Chile, the U.S. continued supporting far-right military dictatorships and death squads throughout Latin America. This was also at a time when Bush was developing deeper ties to Saudi Arabia, one of the world's largest oil producers and a key U.S. ally in the Cold War. With U.S. backing, the Saudi monarchy supported right-wing Islamist groups, many of which were extremists, to undermine secular socialist and communist forces in the Middle East. And through both oil and politics, Bush and his family maintained close links to Saudi elites, including the powerful bin Laden family.
So, do you think it's an accident that bin Laden became the boogeyman? There's a book out called The Bin Ladens in the Bushes. Pretty good book. Look that one up. Bin Laden in the Bushes. Let's read it. The bin Laden family in Saudi Arabia is cutting financial ties with the Carlyle Group, Polito connected U.S. private investment firm. The bin Laden family decided to sell its investment worth $2.2 million back to the firm because of controversy over it. Buyouts, military, aerospace. Decision reached late last week. This wasn't because they thought they did anything wrong, the Carlyle said. We did it with relish or great glee. We felt that it was something that was causing more attention than it deserved. Okay, let's go.
Historian Greg Grandin likewise pointed out that it was Bush who helped facilitate Ronald Reagan's escalation of the Cold War through the infamous Iran-Contra scandal. Bush served as vice president under President Reagan during this scandal, in which the Republican administration sold weapons to Iran in order to fund far-right Contra
Snowfall
death squads in Nicaragua. When Bush succeeded Reagan as the 41st president, he used his authority to pardon the conspirators involved in the Iran-Contra scandal, thereby preventing an investigation into his own criminal activity. Many observers have noted that by doing this, George H.W. Bush helped set the precedent that Donald Trump would later exploit as president. But this paled in comparison to Bush's most egregious crimes. In 1989, the administration of the newly inaugurated President Bush invaded the tiny Central American nation of Panama in order to oust dictator Manuel Noriega, who had himself been a long-time...
Okay, we know Noriega. Remember in the movie Blow? He puts all his money there. But look at this. Noriega fought for us in World War II. Now we're supposed to believe because he wanted to cut some of these CIA people out, they go down there. You see? And when you are good graces with them, they love you. They let you sit around the president. But as soon as you try to do some deals outside of them, they want to invade. And they've been your partner since World War II.
CIA asset, who for years worked closely with the United States, helping it to fund right-wing death squads while he was trafficking drugs. The U.S. brutally bombed Panama, burning down thousands of homes, leading to the nickname Little Hiroshima. Historian Greg Grandin noted that the bodies of dead Panamanians were shoveled into mass graves. But Bush's bloodiest atrocities were yet to come. In August 1990, Iraq militarily occupied and annexed its southern neighbor Kuwait. The Bush administration wanted a war in response, and in order to sell this war, it spread blatant lies. In October 1990, a 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl testified before the U.S. Congressional Human Rights Caucus and claimed,
"While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators.
Acting.
Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
Acting. Not even good acting.
Human rights organizations like Amnesty International obediently echoed this myth, and George H.W. Bush used it to justify a war on Iraq.
And they had kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so that Kuwait could be systematically dismantled.
It was only after this war, in 1992, that it was revealed that this 15-year-old girl was actually the daughter of Kuwait's ambassador to the U.S., and that the lies she spread had been orchestrated by a PR firm on behalf of the Kuwaiti monarchy. But remember, Bush had declared just a few years ago that he didn't care what the facts are. In 1991, the 41st U.S. president launched a war on Iraq, and it was extremely brutal. Under Bush's leadership, the U.S. military deliberately targeted civilian infrastructure, devastating the country. Just weeks after the end of the war, the United Nations published a survey analyzing the civilian damage done by U.S. bombing. The UN found that Iraq was, quote, near apocalyptic, that it had been bombed back, quote, to a pre-industrial age, and that the country was on the verge of a, quote, epidemic and famine. The U.S. military also used depleted uranium weapons in Iraq, leading to birth defects, high cancer rates, and environmental damage that Iraqis are still suffering from to this day. Even the Washington Post, which supported the war.
So who had the weapons of mass destruction, of poisoning people?
Acknowledged 4 months after it that the U.S. and its allies, quote, sought to achieve some of their military objectives in the Persian Gulf War by disabling Iraqi society at large. And the U.S., quote, deliberately did great harm to Iraq's ability to support itself as an industrial society. Precision-guided weapons were used to specifically target electrical plants, oil refineries, and the transportation grid. The U.S. destroyed more than 100 bridges, along with roads, railroads, factories, phone networks, and TV and radio stations. The Pentagon later admitted that it intentionally demolished Iraq's electricity infrastructure, reducing the country's power generation level after the war by 96%, knocking it back to the level that Iraq had in 1920. A lieutenant general told the Washington Post that the psychological impacts that average Iraqi citizens would suffer from after losing their electricity was a, quote, side benefit. One of the most extreme U.S. crimes was committed on February 13, 1991, when the military used laser-guided smart bombs to destroy a shelter full of civilians. 408 Iraqi civilians were massacred in this U.S. attack, and the Pentagon itself admitted that the Amaria shelter that it bombed was being used by civilians seeking protection. Even more blood-curdling was an atrocity that was so heinous it earned the name the Highway of Death. On February 26th and 27th, the U.S. and allies Britain, France, and Canada bombed Iraqi soldiers as they tried to flee Kuwait and return to Iraq. Thousands of fleeing Iraqis were massacred. There were even reportedly some civilians among the soldiers as they tried to flee, including foreign workers and Palestinians who were expelled by the Kuwaiti monarchy. They were all bombed to pieces. Thousands died. The exact number of victims is unknown. The aftermath of the Gulf War was beyond catastrophic. a Harvard public health team investigated and found that Iraq had acute malnutrition and epidemic levels of the preventable diseases cholera and typhoid. The Harvard team also estimated that at least 170,000 Iraqi children under age 5 would die in the year after the war due to the effects of the U.S. bombing.
And how many children were stolen, sex trafficked? That number is no one talks about and probably is unknown.
The Washington Post noted, quote, "Planners now say their intent was to destroy or damage valuable facilities that Baghdad could not repair without foreign assistance." The Bush administration deliberately made the lives of millions of Iraqis complete hell to try to force them into such desperation that they would overthrow their leader. And even when the 1991 Gulf War ended, the Bush 41 administration's war on Iraqi society continued. The U.S. used the United Nations Security Council to expand crippling sanctions on Iraq, which banned all trade with the country. These sanctions, which were further continued under subsequent President Bill Clinton, led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children and other civilians. In response to these reports of mass civilian devastation from U.S. bombing,
and here's something you guys can look up right now. When he was president, they tried to say, he ran Halliburton. Look up what corporation went in bankruptcy and who bought Halliburton in the 1940s. The Bushes bought Halliburton in the 1940s after World War II. It was a bankrupt company, and they bought it. Now, remember, the word was that Cheney was running Halliburton. They didn't tell you the Bushes owned Halliburton. But let's go.
George H.W. Bush's Secretary of Defense.
And one more thing, Halliburton, during the war, Halliburton switched their headquarters to Iraq. Remember, they washed all the uniforms, they feed people. Halliburton washed all the uniforms, they provided food. These are all the contracts. This is how dirty these people were. Do a war, and then they get all the uniform contracts to wash the uniforms and then to feed the troop. How can the president's business... this is how dirty they are.
Dick Cheney insisted that every target was, quote, perfectly legitimate. He declared, quote, "If I had to do it over again, I would do exactly the same thing." Bush Sr.'s Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney would go on to become Bush Jr.'s vice president, and the brains behind George W. Bush's foreign policy and his own second war on Iraq a decade later. Moreover, H.W. Bush's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Colin Powell, later served as W. Bush's Secretary of State. Given the overlap between Bush 41's administration and that of Bush 43, it is no surprise that Bush Jr. followed in his father's footsteps, launching another devastating war in the Middle East, which destabilized the region and led to more than 1 million deaths. These crimes fly directly in the face of the corporate media's portrayal of George H.W. Bush as a principled moderate, and expose the cynicism behind the attempts to distance him from the political horrors that followed. While Google made a doodle dedicated to H.W.'s passing, and while neoliberal centrist leaders of the Democratic Party tried to rehabilitate Bush as a resistance figure against Donald Trump, the reality is that he and the Bush family only helped set the stage for the rise of far-right Trumpism. Even the explicit racism and the dog...
Alrighty. That's what I said. They tried to talking about who won World War II. Well, the Nazis did not lose. Just remember that. The Nazis did not lose. They were just reassigned. The Nazis were just reassigned. That's all. They turned into a different business. Hold up. Didn't San Diego State and UConn play each other in the national championship game this year? Skull and Bones in Connecticut, and SD nickname is Warriors. Good catch, Lorenzo. Dave Verrill, Babylon Must Fall. Thank you for joining. And you must have...
Got to have vision.
And so, these searches are easy things to find. to know who's really in charge. Whoops. To know who's really in charge. They play the games. It's like they want to tell you that the money is going to go out. The money is never an object of any of them. If they want to tell you something, like we know that the biggest polluter in the world is the U.S. Navy. And they want to tell everybody to go green, but the Navy ain't going green. Tanks still run on gas. Ships, aircraft carrier, we got some nuclear submarines. I think we do have a couple of nuclear aircraft carriers, but for the most part, everything runs on gas. Jet fuel comes from gas. You know, some places you can buy dragster fuel. You know, you can buy race car fuel. So just know who they are. That helps your own mental. If you know who they are, that helps you. So you're not deceived when they try to say, my fiance's used one. Her thing is the best of two bad things. I voted for Biden because it was two bad things. Trump and Biden was both bad, but I thought Biden wasn't as bad. Or Trump was better than Hillary. Hillary was bad, Trump was bad, so we voted for Trump. You see over and over again how it's just the same thing, the same sides. So just don't be fooled, that's all. Just don't be fooled about the reality. The one thing I like, they said that came out, and they said the Generation Z, but everybody. See, the way jobs used to be, if you lost your job, motherfuckers thought that was the end of the world. That's what made me mad at Snowfall. Snowfall, okay, think about it like this. Okay, you lost all these millions, but you still got a house and you still got a car. So you telling me you just can't go work something? There's nothing you can do in the world but just be an alcoholic. Life don't work like that. Hell, even Tukey Williams started writing children's books in prison. Do you understand? So if you're given a car and a house, you can make it. You may not be a millionaire, but if you live, you go honest, you can get a job and you can support yourself. The man had a house and a car and no children that he had to pay child support for. All he had to do was pay his house bill, his taxes. House was paid for, the car was paid for. All he had to do was pay his taxes. And you telling me he couldn't did that? They had to write the story where he's just a bum. It ain't like that. But getting back to my point, this generation now where we able to say, fuck your job. That is, quitting a job is one of the best feelings in the world. To be able to look at a motherfucker and say, fuck you, I'm going to make it regardless if I work for your punk ass or not. That is one of the best feelings in the world. To know that you can still make it and tell them, fuck you. Because most of the time they think when it's the end of the world for you. And that's what they wish on you. That's what they wish on you. When people let you go, they hope that the world ends for you. That's the kind of energy they really want on you. They hope that the world ends, that everything just is destroyed for you and you just laying homeless. That's the kind of spell they put on you when they tell you you can't work anymore. That's their intentions. But it's what's great about, the new society is we like, fuck you. We don't take that spell. It's still a lot of jobs out there. I showed the thing here. It's if you want to work here, there's a lot of jobs in Minneapolis where you make decent money. I think inside the city you got to make $15. Most real jobs now, most real jobs people is making $100,000 to $200,000. I knew a daycare lady was knocking down $100,000 every year just doing daycare. That's all she did. She just did daycare. She had a maximum of I think 10 children. And she was knocking down 100,000. So 100,000 is what I told the story back in the 80s. My goal was just to make 25,000, which I think was $500 a week. And then I switched my goal. I had to make $1,000 a week. And of course, $10,000 a week and so on. Two rings on the same bird. Babylon can't fall if everybody and their mama giving an arm and leg to come to Babylon. Well, you know, it's just, the thing is, like, Babylon is all they have. That's all they can hold on to. It's almost like when they was in Zion dancing and shit. That's all you got. That's why they cap so hard for it. That's why they love it so much. Like my fiance was talking about Jay-Z. They say Jay-Z and Beyonce bought the most expensive house ever built in California. Why is that news? Why is that news? Why do we care? Why would anybody even print that? People buy houses, expensive houses in California every day. Why did you have to tell us that they bought that house? It's almost a racist kind of thing. Like, we got to keep eye on these niggas because they bought, you know, they outshined us. This is the mentality. It's like, you know, again, you know, the mentality goes in what interests you? Like, why do they think that's important to tell us? You know, like, how many pictures you've been seeing with young dudes in the hood holding $1 million? In reality, people would kill for that kind of money if it was freely out like that. Why do you think they have these young boys holding this money like that? Why do you think they want to constantly put that in your face? As I said before, why is it all the young people want to copy each other, wear the same kind of jewelry? I mean, the exact same stuff. I mean, how is that a reality? Used to be people didn't want to look like everybody else, but all of a sudden now everybody wants to wear the same type of jewelry. Why is that? Why is that? Why all of a sudden is that showing that you made it? People don't want to be individuals anymore. You got to do what everybody else does. You know, what does Sly call it? Illusion of wealth. Illusion of wealth. It's like nobody wants to look any different. Everybody wants to look the same. Why? There's no other ways to show, you know, your style in jewelry, your creativity in jewelry, what your imagination you think you should wear. Because that's not, if you're going in there and you're buying pieces that everybody else wear, that ain't your imagination. That's what the illusion is giving you. You know, that's the costume. The costume told you to go buy this kind of jewelry. Remember what they tried to do to platinum? And it really gave a big jump in silver. Because silver and platinum, you know, platinum's a lot shinier, but they look very tungsten. They all look very similar. And all along, platinum wasn't worth more than gold. Right now, platinum is not worth more than gold. But remember, the rappers was telling you to buy platinum? So the key is to be an individual. The reasons that they want to distract us from what really matters, distract us from the real problems, generational curses versus generational wealth. Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, you know, we can criticize LeBron James as much as we want, but what he's done for his children is outstanding. I mean, you know, his son had probably the best senior year of any high school basketball player ever. Who had a year of a high school basketball player making $7 million? That is the best high school year ever for any high school player, bar none. Do you understand where it should be going? Just think of all the great high school players through the years. If they could have become millionaires playing in high school, how they could have shared generational wealth years ago, instead of making them go into what would looked at as the slave system of having to go to college and then having to play bad, you know, having to then go in, you know, and not getting paid. So Bronny James, no matter what you want to say about him, he's had the best high school career of anyone, as far as compensation. And as I said, again, look at all the great players. I always talk about Tim Reed. If Tim Reed would have been able to make all that money in high school for his people, how it would have changed his family back then. A person that during his junior year, going into his junior year, saw an abandoned house, went in there and got a bed, because he was probably sleeping on the floor and got caught with walking in up with a bed down the street. And they got him with breaking in the house. I don't even think he went back to high school after that. So do you see? And yes, it's you know, it is a superstar son. But it's a lot of opportunities for young people. You just have to look at it. Like I've begged some people here to look at there's opportunity here, and I'm not going to give it away, but there's opportunity here for players. And none of them, not in the NBA, not the NFL players, none of them tap into this source now. And I've been trying to tell these young boys, go down to this place. Maybe I might have to, you know, maybe I might have to start wearing their gear because, again, I'm coming up, y'all. I'm coming up, y'all. Remember, I am the most successful person in the world that only makes $50 a year. I came up. I made $100 more so far. Sly gave me $3. Lorenzo gave me, so, you know, I got $100. Thank Barbara Grady gave me some money. So, you see, I'm the most successful $150 making person in America. So it just shows you, if you have a plan, you have a dream, you have imagination, you can make it reach. You can expand it. When I say Babylon, I mean America. Look at how everybody and their mama coming here. Well, that's the point. As I was showing, you know, now they're trying to fly to Canada because, as I said before, there's borders up here that you can just go into Canada. There's checkpoints here that ain't nobody there. You can still drive back and forth to Canada freely in parts of Minnesota. You can walk. Parts of it, you can just walk into Canada. Again, you get caught without your information, they're going to put your ass in the camp. They did some propaganda. They said when Trump got elected, a lot of Africans was trying to go into Canada. Trump is going to get rid of us. I don't think he's worried about the Africans. And Vietnam showed you a lot of these people was, you know, really cowards. Trump did the rich people's things, you know, found a way to avoid going, and that's what the rich people do. It was called deferments. This is a true story. My freshman year in college, I had a psychology teacher, and you know what she told me? She said, I like the war years because you young men tried. You young men made sure you passed, because you know what happened if you flunked out of college? You went to Vietnam. If you got a deferment to not go to Vietnam because you was in college, if you flunked out, you was going to Vietnam. Literally, I went to, my dad was coaching at Covert, Michigan. Literally, we went to graduation one week. The young men was getting their letters the following week. The following week, they was getting their draft letters. Yeah. And don't even, you know, get me into, you know, the senselessness that was Vietnam. It was very senseless in every way. You know, and you have to understand is both sides agreed to kill their own people. Just like World War I, World War II, going back to the Revolutionary War, Civil War. Revolutionary War was just a way to split America. I mean, you're telling me that you defeat a country and you let them live and stay north of you, and you give them, you let them keep a couple islands? It really works like that? Does that sound like, you know, the country? No, it was a way to steal Indian land. Melanated people's land that was already here. That's what both wars were. They let Canadians, they let the British go up in Canada, control them. They said, we'll quit fighting each other. We'll split that. You can have that up there. They even gave the French a part. Even after the British beat the French, they were still so French in Quebec. Quebec stayed French, basically. So Vietnam War was actually a drug war, partly drug, rubber. You got to remember, a lot of rubber came out of that area too. Tungsten. Tungsten is something else that comes out of Vietnam, rubber and tungsten. Heroin, yeah, to a point. Heroin to a point. But like, just like I just showed about that Vietnam Wall, it was a way to kill baby boomers. Guess that's the biggest point I forget to mention. Well, Vietnam was just made to kill baby boomers. It was such an expansion of birth that they knew that these baby boomers were going to control one day. And so they figured out a way to start killing them. And that's Vietnam. And I think it's almost 60,000 people died. But over 500,000 people served. So, 60,000 compared to 500,000 people, but still. And no telling how many people are missing. The POWs are still. But that's the main reason. If you look at it and the way it was fought, there's no rationale. They try to say to stop the domino effect of communism. Makes no sense. I mean, it makes no sense. And even if you look at the battle again, the aim of war is to take the capital. Not one time in the U.S.'s 14, 15 years there did they try to take Hanoi. Not once. But yet, when the French were there, that was the French capital, was Hanoi. So they understood. But yet we never tried. All we did is drop bombs on Hanoi. That's it. Just drop bombs on them. Not one time tried to take their capital. And the thing that stopped the war, which could have been stopped from the very beginning, the trains coming from China and hopping where the boats came in and shit. The port, Hoping port. And Nixon said exactly that. Nixon said, I'm going to mine the harbor and I'm going to bomb the trains. But that could have been done from the very beginning. So it was an agreement. We know Rothschild's money goes into both sides. I mean, look at them. When you look at Vietnam movies, look at all the products over there. The Budweiser, the Pepsis, the toothpaste. So you see, it's a big payday for everybody. Just as I was showing you, when they went to Iraq and Iran, Halliburton. Big payday for everybody. And who goes to the army? Who fights? Who fights to this very moment? Who fights? The people that can afford to be officers. They go to West Point. They go to Annapolis. They go to the Navy Academy. But who are the ones that mostly get killed is the poor people. As I said, when people, whatever military day is, and I see people saying, thank you for your service, poor people, poor people, poor people, poor people. Because what happens? What happens? As we're approaching the graduation season, what happens to people? You're sitting in a room full of people. Even my daughter's mindset of people saying they just want to stay home and go to junior college because it's cheaper. The mindset is, oh, you're going to junior college? Are you really poor? The mindset is messed up. Because technically right now you can do your 2 years junior college still in high school. But do you even see how they want to attack that? I'm going to save money and just go to junior college for 2 years. They want to tell you that ain't good enough. But imagine, you sitting there and all these people saying they leaving, and what you going to do? What you going to do? You want to see the world. You want to go somewhere else, but you don't have any skills. And that's what people to go in the army is people with really no skills. Yes, they can teach you to be a mechanic and they can teach you to kill. They can teach you to kill because anybody can be a psychopath. Imbecile. I mean, that's imbecile psychopaths. That's what they're called. That's what they think of them, imbecile psychopaths. That's why they have the special forces, the worst of the psychopaths. And that's one thing these Europeans are good at, is training their psychopaths. They're imbecile psychopaths. They are the best at it. They make the best killers. America has the best killers, hands down. We went from the cowboy movies to the mafia movies of just showing killing. Now we're showing, young melanated men killing young melanated men. And they ain't even in a real war. The only war is, your people is poor and live in this part of the city. I mean, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. People bring war upon Americans. It's like the government is not enough of attacking us. You have to attack each other. That's divide and conquer. And young people don't look at it like that. That you being used. And it was funny, the one dude, whatever his name, and he was talking about, he came out with a song that said he didn't sacrifice King Von. Little Dirk, I think it's called. Come on, you sacrificed him. That's the way the business asked for, if it was a real death, because we know they fake deaths too. But again, what was he doing there? Again, why didn't he have professional people instead of just some niggas with him with guns? So again, these people are set up and just slaughtered. They're sitting to these young men are sitting in sent to these positions where it's already hit teams all around. And a psychopath like King Von was easy to set up. Because it'd be easy for him to fight, and they did him like the cowboy days, shot him in the back. Take your attention off and shoot you in the back. Because again, you got niggas with you, and that's how you get sacrificed. Because the people that you're working with they don't want you to have the right security. They want you to have limited security because that's the easy way to kill you and set you up. And so that's what they don't understand. Like I said, with the Migos go to Comic-Con, they got 30 security people. But then you go to a gambling thing in the hood and you got your guys. Come on, that's not real. And that's not how you take care of yourself. That's not how you take care of this generational wealth. But see, you're set up by your people. Oh, we don't need them. And that's what the young man heard that got killed with the Migos. That's what his guy told him. Oh, we don't need all that. We just gonna go down there, gamble a few thousand. You can just chill, it's Halloween. We just chilling. Well, I gotta go. Oh, they expect to see us there. That's how they pressure you. You gotta go. Young man probably didn't even want to go there, but he's like, you gotta go. Pressured to go somewhere. Biggie going out to California. Well, you gotta go. The promotion of the song coming out. Everybody knows if you protect a dude, he never sits in the passenger seat. He sits in the middle. You have the blacked out windows. He gets in. He sits in the middle. That's security. That's common security. Oh, you are too intelligent to be in the military. It'd make you a spy. Ha ha ha. A lot of baby boomers that died in Vietnam were poor people. Absolutely. Absolutely. When I'm talking about Covert, Michigan, I'm talking about some dudes that, see, people who don't realize is migrant workers was black folks too in Michigan. Like we went to visit one of my father's players and they was living in a migrant camp where it was, you talking about little houses. This was a little house with just like a room smaller than this. And they laying on the floor sleeping. Migrant workers. This is what they did in the summertime. These black folks. So it wasn't just Mexicans being migrant workers in Michigan. It was black folks too. Moved to the migrant camps. They live in the tiny houses and they pick during the day. All the family picked. They lived in these little bitty houses. Like the size of this room, be about 10, 11 niggas up in there. Sleeping on the floor and shit. Go out and picking. That's what they did for the summer. So yeah, poor people. Same thing in World War II. They convinced all these people in Alabama they should care about Pearl Harbor. Do you see the psyop there? Why would they care? Half of them didn't even know, but they got on a high, and you were looked down upon if you didn't go. Look on World War I, how they was trying to shame the people that didn't want to fight. The men that didn't want to go fight. In England, how they wanted to shame the people. Same in World War II. Unless you was too old, they want to shame you for not going. They drafted brothers. Remember, they drafted brothers. Korea too. Korea is another war that didn't make a lot of sense. At least they fought for, they fought for real land, fought and gave real land, unlike Vietnam, where there was no strategy. Just go out in the jungle and kill. I mean, study Vietnam. That's basically what it was. Just go, like what they call it, search and destroy. Search and destroy on both sides. Search and destroy. Just go out there and kill. Don't matter about land. When was war ever about not land? That's what Vietnam was. It was no objective. If you're not sending troops in the north, there's no objective other than to just get killed, kill people, kill baby boomers. Study the Civil War. Look who the North attacked. Protestants. They tried to get rid of Protestants. Grant's thing to the West, that was his job, was to go kill Protestants for them peoples. You thought that them peoples didn't have a hand in the Civil War? And why did all the generals from the North, why was there 80 generals from Europe in the Civil War? Why was that? Why did the North have to call in 80 generals from Europe? If it was such a northern war, 80 generals from Europe fought in the Civil War for the Americans. And we know that melanated people fought from the very first war. Again, I'm still looking for that article where I found the first Battle of Bull Run. We have melanated troops fighting Union forces. All melanated companies fighting in the very first Battle of Bull Run. We know the Cherokee at first fought for the Southerners. I got to order this book of the Southern generals because it's amazing. You look at all these generals from Texas, it's like all these dark dudes. And they tell you, that, my family's, the 54th Mass was the first time brothers fought in the Civil War, and that's a lie. They had fought from the very beginning. When I got injured in the Army, basic training, I thought it was bad. It turned out to be a great blessing. I had a couple cousins. I had one cousin. I had cousins extremely poor. And back in the 70s and 80s, you could go to school basically free on Pell Grants. Free. And so that's what they did. They went into ROTC. One retired as a navigator. One did, I think, 10 years in, but he was flying F-16s. And he retired at Delta or American. Both of them was, all two brothers, both retired with American Airlines. Matter of fact, one of their younger brothers didn't go military. He just started flying commercial planes. But again, their upbringing was extremely poor. Extremely poor. And, again, they were smart enough to become officers. And no knock on my brother, but I begged him. I said, go do like your cousins. Go into ROTC. I said, just go to Western. Go into ROTC. But again, he's hearing the recruiters. I left when I graduated. When I turned 18, I left. He wanted to be like that. He wanted to leave. And so he didn't see like he had any alternative but to go to the military. Because our parents really couldn't afford to, they probably could afford to, from him to went to junior college. That really wasn't his thing. So again, we were working class people. Both parents worked. But again, they couldn't afford to really put him through, without him working and starting in junior college. I mean, hell, if I didn't get a scholarship, I couldn't have went. I mean, really? It really wouldn't have been bad. I could have started working at General Motors, but I would have only had like 10 years until I was going to have to move somewhere to work at another one because all the plants in my area was going to close down. If I started working there in 79, within 5 years, they was going to close down. So, well, I think I'm going to call it. It's 3 a.m. I think I'm going to call it. This has been cool. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. And wow, I don't know. I got lazy on the divinations and got kind of lazy. So I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna go to sleep, get some rest. Enjoy tomorrow. I'll be on tomorrow night for show. Sunday night, bringing it in. No game tomorrow night. Yeah. So, yeah. Monday night will be so I'll come on tomorrow night, and I'll come on Monday night after the game, and we'll see who's into the finals and going into Friday the 1st of June. And my birthday's in June. I am a Cancer. I am a June boy, and so my birthday is from June 1st to July 4th. That is the time of the June boys. That is the time of Big Pontiac's rising. So June, all June I claim. Juno. Julius. I claim all of June. So I'm going to party just like it is 1999. Like I'm partying right now as you watch. So I hope you got a little bit out of something that I said tonight or something I put out there. I hope it, and all the people watching, I appreciate it. I do. For me to be the most successful man who only makes $150 a year should be inspiration that all of you can do well. No matter how much you make, you can do well. Now, it does take work. And that's it. It takes work. That's the same thing with consciousness and spirituality. You have to be be full time at it. And too often we want to take shortcuts. And spirituality is one thing you can't take a shortcut. Because what it wants to see is it wants to see if it gives you clear vision. But it also wants to see if you can take them depths. Because it wants to see that too. It wants to see how you hold up when it puts the hammer down on you. And I have to remind my daughter, I have to, just to keep my own sanity, I have to remind myself. Just because I can do magic doesn't mean life stops. Just because I have visions and I know the future doesn't mean life stops. You still have to live it. You still have to enjoy the moment. You still have to learn how special each moment is. That's part of doing the work. Every moment, try to be a good person. Every moment, try to be a loving person. And love every moment. Be here now. Now, being into distractions of what other people have and what other people are doing. I don't have things I have because others have it. I think this is my personal style that I've achieved in almost going on 62 years. And the people that I emulate and that was my heroes and mentors was real people. There's real common people. Of course, college coaches and coaches, of course. But real people. Relatives. My father was a country dude. The only thing I really emulated from my father is the way I walk. My father's style is straight up, I don't even know. I mean, he wore nice suits and stuff, but he wasn't stylish to me. And he wore suits every day because he worked in City Hall, but his style just ain't, I never thought he was a stylish brother. Just didn't, But that was his thing, Those melanated Confederate soldiers were slave owners. Of course. People don't realize some of the biggest slave owners and most successful slave people in the South were melanated people. You can look at the states. The names is there. Look up the work. There was a bunch of melanated slave owners. There's a bunch of Indian slave owners, natives if they want to call themselves. So it wasn't just, these Uncle Tom cabins, all these Europeans. I mean, look at how many, if you look at the stories, this is kind of how it goes. George had to go rent from his cousin a couple slaves to work for him. He had to go to his cousin, pay his cousin to get a couple people to work for him. Do you know how often this was done? And remember, movies tell you Gone in the Wind with Mammy and Butterfly McQueen tell you that's poor white trash. Don't even talk to them. Remember that part? They felt they were better. They show you that the slaves was actually better than these these European folks that didn't own slaves. That was poor. They couldn't even get work. And remember, there were thousands of European slaves still in the South. Thousands of European slaves in the South. They want to call it indentured servitude. No, that wasn't just it. They want to tell you that all the Europeans was the overseers. No. Get the book, 400 Years of Class, it's called Poor White Trash. And it will tell you the amount of poor Europeans that wasn't working or doing the poorest of poor, doing the things that slaves didn't have to do. They want you to think that slavery was, Uncle Tom's Cabin. And we're not saying it didn't exist, but it didn't exist like Uncle Tom's Cabin all the time. Now, there were some terrible places to work, no doubt. The rice fields in South Carolina, where you had got to be in water all day. Yeah, that was hard slavery, no doubt. But not all the places was quite like that. That's what people don't understand. That wasn't everywhere. That ain't what they make you think. A lot of it was propaganda. So we ain't saying it didn't exist, but it didn't exist the way they make it out. They make you think that it wasn't a civilization that got along. A civilization that was actually doing better than the people in the North. And the North wanted access to that. Yes, the North was more industrial, but the agricultural South was making more money. And they wanted control of that they did not have control of. Them peoples did not have control of that. So that's why the war was there. They wanted to get rid of some of these people that had power in the South. And as I've said before, the war wasn't about the North against the South. The war was the South, the seceded states against D.C. And that's the point people miss. It was not against the northern states. It was against D.C. That's it. That 10 by 10. That's who the Southerners' enemy was. And Lincoln had to gather up and convince everybody else, well, we got slavery. We got all this. They attacked they attacked the federal fort. They didn't attack one of the state forts. They attacked a federal fort, right? So it was D.C. Had nothing to do with Michigan. Had nothing to do with Wisconsin. Had nothing to do with Iowa. Had nothing to do with Massachusetts. Had nothing to do with any of these northern states. It was a federal facility. And Lincoln had to trick everybody in the North into backing him because he was by himself. And that's the reality of what the Civil War was. Wasn't against the North. It was against D.C. And they make you think that D.C. was the North, but no, it wasn't. Again, all those people got hit with propaganda. They got fooled as well. And then, when we go into Jim Crow, that's the worst part of history for melanated people was Jim Crow. 1,000 times worse than what they tell you slavery was. It was Jim Crow. Because they let the poor white trash run the South. That was their way of putting down the majority of people. Because the majority of people in the South was still melanated people. And so that they let the next poorest people, which was the poor white trash, they taught them how to go into the courts, the White League, and then their military wing was the Klan. But the White League was the legal arm that people ignore. People don't research. They had to have a legal arm, right? And then if you get into the bloody shirt, you start seeing where these poor white trash people are given weapons. Money is behind them. Weapons to beat these newly formed melanated towns in the South. Get the book, The Bloody Shirt. We know the names now, and that's where reparations comes. Because books like that prove we know the names of the people that overthrew these legally elected officials The same way we can go back into Wilmington, where they overthrew the government and the Federals didn't do anything about it. They let a vigilante group overthrow Wilmington, elected officials, and the federal government did nothing about it. So that's the worst part of history for melanated people is Jim Crow, where they lock people up, and then 100 years later, under our current president and Clinton, lock more melanated people up than had ever been locked up since Reconstruction. You take away the jobs in the Midwest, and you replace it with cocaine, government imported cocaine. And then you criminalize the people because there's no jobs and opportunities. You let the big dealers go because the big dealers are working for the government. Snowfall, Freeway Ricky Ross, Rayful Edmonds, Supreme, all these names was all government agents. El Prophet, talking about all these people. These people's all government agents. Black Mafia family, Meech and them all work for the government. Don't believe all that hype. These is all government agents. They actors. And the government said when it was time to look like they was doing something, they arrested these people. But they're all government agents, government actors. The government put these people on. That's one thing Al Prophet shows again and again and again. If you look at it, it's always some type of government connection. Like one of the big heroin dealers in Detroit was first in the military, then he was a policeman. Military, then he was a policeman. And the next thing you know, he's one of the biggest heroin dealers in the 50s and 60s. That's not by accident. That is cooperation with the government, picking you. Look at the Godmother. The Godmother was allowed to let cocaine overflow New York because, again, New York was heroin. So they let her go in there and dump cocaine. And then what happens when one of her Columbus ships get caught with 100-something kilos, whatever, pounds? They let her go to Florida. And that's where the drive-bys start. The CIA started drive-bys in Miami. They created drive-bys. That's a fact. The CIA are the one that drove up on people and started spraying people. This is their tactic. That they first started in Miami. And that's why when you see all the killings in LA in the 80s, only the government kills like that. Even in Chicago, Chicago had black sites. You see all these killings, and there's no way that you can just say that so many people woke up today and just had to go shoot somebody. There's always a government influence in that. Military type of influence as well. It's like it's already written. Well, sometimes that goes into the fates. I mean, the fates is interesting because the fates is almost like I say karma. You can use the fates the same way you can use karma. You can be above both. But you can play with them too. The fates is something interesting that you can play with because you can start seeing patterns. And that's one good thing about the fates. They give you patterns. They start giving you clues. Like deja vus. When you get deja vus, that's a victory. That's like a reward. You've been vibrating high enough where you get the deja vu reward. Yes, Quantum, I'm still in it. Yeah, that's you right about that. It is the type of reward. I agree totally. Deja vus are a type of reward that you are doing everything right. That you are living above fear. But getting back to the fates is interesting because you can roll with the fates. That's what's cool, but you can also change it. But sometimes, again, you don't have to tune. And that's what everything is. It's tuning. Tuning to your perfection. So you make the fates, if you do write stories, you write stories and it happens the way you write it. Dig? That's what the fates is. That's why I say, when you hear shit, if you're going to write a story that makes you successful. Don't write a story where you lose. Write a story where you are successful. Whatever the story is, whatever you have to, what you are confronted with, write the story where you win. Don't write the story based on fear. Tune where you win. Tune yourself where you vibe higher, where your thoughts are more positive thoughts, higher vibrational thoughts. Know it's your thoughts and not attachments thoughts. Because fear, hate, jealousy, all them is attachments and will feed you. They will feed you. That shit will be right in your ear. Hey, tell this bitch you hate this bitch. Hey, bitch, I hate you. Tell this, kick this bitch in the ass. Kick her in the ass. Oh, you about to go to jail now. But attachments can push that kind of thing. And I'm sure we've all experienced that before. So control your own mind. It's just, all your health is just like the things you study, the things you look up, your interests is just like eating good. What you bring in mentally is the same thing as what you bring in, eternally. The same thing you bring in spiritually. It's the work you do every day to be as positive and vibrate as high as you can be, to give freely. When you can give freely, give freely. You see these? I don't have these. My sports shit, is commercials, but not this shit anymore. I'm not gonna play the game with these people. When I talk, I'm gonna get this free. I ain't gonna charge for this no more. Now my old shows is already, they're gonna stay, but not this. And if I only can make $150 this year, I'm happy in the motherfucker. Again, my budget was based on $50. Now I have a whole, my budget, I might get some now or laters. Might go get me some now or laters now, see? You guys' little bitty help helps a person like me tremendously. But I know how to make money expand. So what may be $150 to you, I can use it like it's $10,000. I can stretch it to like it's $10,000. Put a little bit here, put a little bit there, put a little bit here, make it work. And if I can make it work, you can make it work. So, well, I'll say enjoy tomorrow. I'll see you around 12, 12:31, somewhere around that on Sunday morning. And since this is like an extended Friday because of the holiday, enjoy your Sunday. No sports. Love your families. Those of you that put out flowers and do think about your loved ones this time of year, that's okay too. That's okay too. Because, in the Mayan calendars, there's always death is twice. It comes up the sixth day, and it comes up, I think it's the 14th day. So it's a common pattern. Where we, if you put flowers out or, the people that did serve and die in the military, we still salute them. Doesn't matter their circumstances that took them, they still lost their lives on something that they were, some instances, forced into, propagandized, didn't know better, didn't have a choice. And they were put on the firing line and got killed. And that's real. And we do salute the people that did go through that, just as I showed the wall. It doesn't matter their circumstances that led them to the service. They still were brave. Because it's not a lot of people that can face danger. A lot of people can't face danger. A lot of people, shut down. People will actually go in shock. Others, hey, that danger is a good thing. It's like it makes everything start working. Makes the concentration higher. And it's like, okay, if danger presents itself, I'm going to play. I'm going to tune with danger. I'm going to tune it. I'm going to tune it with danger. Oh, but I was gonna do a little something today. I'm lazy and I'm sorry. What's the date? Let's see what the date is. Day 10. Yeah, we can do these. I'm hungry. We had dinner about 3 o'clock. Go downstairs and give me a little munchies to eat. All right. Let's see here. Um, let's see. Would be oh, there it is. Here we go. And try to give it up. Let's see. Might be this one. 2. Let's see. Which way is this going? Oh, excuse me. All right. All right, in the Mayan calendar, we have day 10. Day 10. And day 10 is called dog. Whoops, it's called dog. So here it says yak, but another name is dog. And you see the double bars. The bars are each 5. It would be, let's see, let's bring that up. It would be, where are they going? Which way is it going? 10. Okay, right here. Right here. See that? That's 10. Right there. That's 10 or dog. Oh, and the short one. I always got the short one. Is emotional life guide and principle of loyalty, faithfulness that gives strength for the spiritual journey. The energy is coming from the north. And right here. Right here. In ancient times, the dog was found in the company of Toltec priest or shaman. It was a symbol of the journey to the separated reality of the shamanic trance, which the dog was considered to be guide and company. As one who travels with the knower, the dog represents the trace of consciousness. Getting the dog card is a sign of traveling without losing your connection with the place you are coming from. It represents also the virtue of faithfulness towards someone, or something. As double beings, we cannot achieve healing and wellness if we do not honor the tonal and nago sides of our being. The problem is that in modern times, humans are generally absorbed in their minds only, trapped in the side of reason, so to speak. But reason gets sick if it is not balanced by the efficient and continued use of awareness, the other self, which is not based on reason, but is in the silent knowledge. It is our magical side. The dog represents your journey into the experience of your other self for the sake of achieving completion and integral development. The time is prosperous for practices that lead to this direction. The other important meaning of the dog is fidelity. Getting this card may mean that someone loyal to you is playing an important role in your life, and perhaps without your full knowledge. The card can also mean that you may be called to stand up for someone or something and be loyal to that person or something. So, use the dog energy today. Again, as I say, I give freely. So I hope this helps your journey tomorrow, to make you think or see a situation like, okay, that's what they was talking about. There it is. Ooh, there it is. I'm my mama's own black Superman. Well, I think it's time to get funky blind. Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate it. And till we meet again, say less.
What are we doing? 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 I'm sorry, Nick.
Shit, bro, I'm trying to make me some money. Nigga get mad. Say, motherfucker, what you mean you ain't gonna let me in this funky joint? Much money I done spent in here, nigga. I knew your mama when she was hoeing. Hump, baby. Shit, bet I do it over time. Say that, nigga. Shit. Bet the bar, off time. Shit, bro, I'm trying to make me some money. Boy, I'm hungry as a hog need slop Jesus. Shit, gotta be a Jesus, cause too many black folks.
It's going down like this, motherfucker.
For what he has, he says that the only way that we can solve our problem is to unite together among ourselves, among our own kind, clean ourselves up, rid ourselves of the evils that we've become addicted to here in this society, and try and...
Off my dome, this is actually taught by the people who are ancestors of the Mayans in...
Me and Bubba are trying to rescue some kittens.
Yes, he destroy black boys. If you destroy him as a boy, he'll never become a man.
Your feet. He looked down, seen his feet. The nigga went berserk, killed the monkey, threw the bat out the window, start kicking that bitch in the air.
You don't understand. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. It's cool enough just being cool, like I am, chilling.
My eye, plus I'm in love with a bitch I can't stand.
I mean, TikTok. A lot of the white content creators on TikTok get all of their dances from the black content creators. I mean, TikTok. A lot of the white content creators on TikTok get all of their dances from the black content creators.
Flag cause he wiped up Future's motherfucking ex-hoe. Flag cause he wiped up Future's motherfucking ex-hoe. Flag cause he wiped up Future's motherfucking ex-hoe.
You're a philosopher? Yes. 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 I think very deeply. I think very deeply.
Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me.
Damn white boys out there. Most of them is psychopaths and all that. They'll kill your mama's mama and you.
Decent white folk that still don't know they're racist.
What the hell you want here, hunky?
You have to stop and think, what does that mean to me?
I think we OD. I think we OD. I think we OD.
Your lines are still open. Oh shit, you can get it, nigga. You wanna get it?
That's what me and this nigga do. We pick something and then we rant about it.
The Chinese platform, you already know they don't give a fuck about your black ass. The Chinese platform, you already know they don't give a fuck about your black ass. The Chinese platform, you already know they don't give a fuck about your black.
It all breaks down to, what does this mean to me? What does this event mean to me? How does this event affect my thinking? Affect my way of life?
Baby, I'm a walking dead man, is what they call me when I come. Baby, I'm a walking dead man, is what they call me when I come. Baby, I'm a walking dead man, is what they call me when I come. I hit the loot juice, it pulls up in the
nigga.
I just be shopping and shit, you know, drinking and shit, do a little smoking and shit. I'm legendary in this motherfucker. I'm legendary in this motherfucker. I'm legendary in this motherfucker.
Do that dance, do that dance, do that dance, baby, do that dance, let's work it out. Do that dance, baby, do that dance, let's work it out.
And the fans, they're there for entertainment. And the fans, they're there for entertainment.
I stopped playing. I stopped playing. I stopped.
My bitches. You saying you can't control your bitches? What?
Shit, bro, I'm trying.